meeting of the Durham Planning Board shall come to order. Roll call. Peter?
Peter Howd, alternate.
Darrell Ford.
Peyton McManus.
Michael Barron, Town Planner.
Paul Rasmussen.
Heather Grant, Richard Kelly, and Munish cannot make it tonight.
Paul Rasmussen.
Sally Tobias.
Robert Sullivan.
Julian Smith.
Emma Hollander.
And just sitting down, we have Gary Whittington.
Gary Whittington has entered the building.
All right. So we're going to have Daryl be our council rep tonight, and Julian Smith will be sitting in for Richard Kelly. Do we have anybody online?
Nope.
All right. Town planners report. Oh, approval of the agenda. I have no modifications to the agenda. Anybody else?
No.
Fine to me.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Town planners report.
Our next meeting is in 2 weeks on February 11th. We have two small projects coming before you. A two-lot subdivision on Stratford Avenue and an amendment for a small addition at Riverwood's main project. You saw the footprint for this on their earlier Phase 2 projects. And Torrington, I've spoken with them, and they are looking forward to doing Phase 2, the front building, but they're waiting. Obviously, the weather's not good now with the market. Riverwoods is moving along on Phase 2, on meeting their conditions. Garrish Drive, construction recently, and they should be cutting trees soon, in spite of the weather. Still waiting for Dunkin' Donuts to break ground, but they have been doing. And I spoke with the people at 74 Main Street, where next to Aroma Joe's, for the 5-story building the board approved well over a year ago. They would like to go forward, but since their court case, the market is not as good, interest rates are higher, so they don't know whether they're going to be going forward, but they haven't made a decision yet. And
That was where?
that's 74 Main Street at the
Pettibrook
junction of Main and Pettibrook. Yeah, great project. Love to see it go, but questionable.
Game changing.
That's it.
Reports from board, or any questions for the town planner? Reports from board members who serve on other committees.
One question. Did Torrington say anything about a tenant for the Rite Aid?
They would love to find a drugstore. They're trying, but the market, it's very limited. There's not a lot of players now.
Okay.
They know the town wants a drugstore. So do they.
Town council?
Town Council met on January 12th. They passed a resolution recognizing the Durham Housing Task Force. And Sally was there. And the plaque is somewhere with you, I guess, now. Huh?
I gave it to you. I was told to give it to Michael.
They appointed Christopher Smith to the Energy Committee to this board as an alternate. Superintendent Shaps gave an update on the schools and where they stand with that. And the next meeting is February 2nd.
Thank you. Conservation Commission did not meet.
We did not meet. It was canceled due to
Did
weather.
not meet due to a little bit of snow.
Meeting next week.
But we are continuing on our subcommittee meetings.
Very good. All right.
How well attended are they?
They were very well attended at the beginning, and the last one we had was not attended. So got there and had their say, and now we're just working out details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And, yep, that's, the public, no, that's going to be at the February 2nd meeting. So IMAC had a meeting. We're basically on hold until the next town council meeting makes a decision on whether or not the new waste pickup stuff gets approved. At that point, we would be getting involved with doing public outreach for, in coordination with Public Works, to start letting people know that there's going to be a new way of doing things come next summer, and they're all going to be getting brand new garbage cans and recycling cans. So, so if you know anybody who's thinking about getting a new garbage can, tell them to wait.
We're getting new recycling. Are we going to be like?
Everything you're
bins?
using now is not going to be usable.
Yeah.
You're going to be getting replacement stuff for automatic pickup, logo on it, it's so that we know it's legal. If you need extra things, there's going to be a fee. So it's all,
Okay. One of my bins in the snowstorm.
That's so the truck can pick it up?
Pick it
Yes.
up. Go ahead.
Automatic.
So is there a plan for the old ones to do something with them?
the old, DPW will collect old ones if,
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
so that if there are recycling opportunities for those.
Thank you.
Any update on the compost pickup or potential compost pickup? I think there was maybe going to be a sort of a trial run in a neighborhood potentially.
We did not get the grant for that,
Okay.
so now we're waiting for another grant opportunity to open up.
Mr. Chairman, what is going to happen with recycling? Are we still going to put out recycling?
It will be, yes, so the plan for recycling is that it will be all in one container and get picked up every week.
Okay. So
Both
there'll be two
mixed?
different containers.
Every 2 weeks.
One for
I think.
garbage.
Every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks, one for garbage, one for
Thank you. Mixed
Single stream.
paper and
paper, everything, single stream.
everything.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, that is convenient.
that's radical.
You can handle it, Sal.
I'm gonna love it.
But, yeah, that's, like I say, there will be, once it's, all the contracts have been signed, then there'll be a major
It's gonna be.
outreach to get the information out.
Okay.
All right. Any other committee reports? Public comments? We have public comments for things not on our agenda tonight? Nope. All right, review of minutes, December 10th. For some reason, they are listed in both locations, I notice, on the agenda, but because they're old minutes, we will do them as old minutes.
There was just one change. There was a comment where it said commercial 3 floors, residential 1 floors, and the word commercial and residential should flip.
Switched.
Otherwise, I don't have any changes besides that.
Where was that?
Can I borrow that for a second?
Yeah, I've got 2 copies.
While he's looking for that, I had a
Did you
couple.
send it to Karen by chance?
I didn't. I can have tomorrow.
Well, no, that's okay if you make it, Patricia will just catch it on DCAT.
Okay, well, I was just, because if it's been sent to Karen already, then
Page 7, line 1.
page 7, line 1, commercial and residential were interposed. Transposed, there's the word.
I have a few questions.
Yes.
Page 1, line 25, Peyton moved to approve the agenda as amended. What was the amendment? Oh, never mind. So he made comments.
There were.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
It
Sorry
was on
about that.
approving the agenda.
Moving on, let's see, on page 2, line 40, Bethel Shansky of Packers Falls Road provided the details of the town council vote on what issue? On the height of buildings, I assume. Then on page 3, Josh Meyerowitz of 17 Chesley Drive, is that true? I'm at number 3. There's just not room for a 17.
I thought he was
Seven.
He's
Seven.
7, Chesley.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7, 5 is next to me, and then, okay. Now, on line 4, I'm sorry, page 4, line 10, there's a reference to a proposal to have all lots accessed by Dame Road to minimize impacts to developments. What, developments along the Bay Road, I mean, what impacts to what development? Impacts to what developments?
Maybe of developments.
I'm sorry. Oh, impacts of developments, that would be better. Now, I noticed all through these minutes that every time there is a motion and a vote, we're told it was approved 7-0, motion carries. Approved 7, and this is consistent. Why do we need, if the vote is 7-0, why do we need to be told that the motion carried?
Right. So we can either just say approved 7-0 or motion carries 7.
Or the motion was approved 7-0.
Right.
Cut out a few words. Page 7, line 10, on the line 16 on page 7. Chair Rasmussen, we need to put in the word said. And that's it. I'm sorry for being so picky, but it goes back a long way, and I can't help it. It's in the genes. You should meet my daughter.
English professor.
So, but good minutes other than those few little mistakes. Thank you.
Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Smith wasn't quite picky enough
Okay.
because he missed on page 7, the very last line. Mr. Smith said approval of agenda on page 3 should be 7-0 and not 9-0, and that was actually Mr. Ford that said that, and I don't want to be conflated with Mr. Smith.
I appreciate that, sir. But
In Patricia's defense, it was this voice from off camera, so there was no way for her to identify it. But
yeah, it's one of the things I had marked on mine, so I thought I had said it. By the time I got these, my memory had flagged.
also on the bottom of page 3, the third to the last word on the page should be tank and not task. The water was sent to a tank. Other than that, we're good.
Okay.
As regard to
Yeah.
the drainage off of the roof on the Jenkins Court properties being piped. Okay. That gets us to our public hearing for tonight. The proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance to comply with recently adopted state laws affecting land use. The amendments pertain to municipal restrictions on dwelling units, accessory dwelling units, and multi-unit residential on commercial land. The planning board initiated a set of amendments which were forwarded to the town council. This revised version includes one change proposed by the town council to allow mixed use of the residential enclosed corner and the 4 research industry zones. All right, so we'll start this item with a public hearing. Can I have a motion?
Motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Everybody's in favor. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this item tonight?
Al Howland, 32 Frost Drive. I would like to speak against this as proposed by the town council. So I think this is kind of a way to skirt to use state law to actually skirt around inclusionary zoning is the best way to put it. It's like, it's really trying to put a poison pill so you don't do multi-unit. It takes away flexibility of developers. I think, Durham is going to eventually have to come to a realization that you try to get the highest and best value for land, especially if you're trying to mitigate property tax. And I think the fear of multi-unit development, because of student housing, has really hurt our community. And you can see it right now because you have a very limited stream of finances or revenue to offset what are desires for much of our community. So I think what was proposed originally to the town council was better. This is more restrictive. There's no reason to do this, no good reason, and no fiscally responsible reason to do this. So I mean, as I say, as a legislator who works in housing, this is the kind of legislation that really makes me angry. So I do not think this is the right way to address zoning. I do not think this is the right way to do housing. And I think it was a very ill-conceived amendment. So I'm sorry to be mean, but it's just not a good idea.
It wasn't our idea, so.
Al, can I just ask some questions?
Yes.
So what, in broad terms, I hear what you're saying. What specifically, or do you have any areas?
I don't like it side is meeting the bare minimum, which is allowing, you have to do mixed use in zones where you have commercial, but on the 5 zones that you can't do multi-unit. So it's like, I think, while it may sound like you're expanding the opportunities in your community, actually you're not at all. There are, those other areas potentially could be multi-unit, and they could fit in there, but under this, what you'd have to do is to do a mixed use to do it. And what your own assessor showed you is that commercial units, commercial real estate, all throughout the state is struggling right now. And in fact, when they did you saw in your reevaluations, right? Like the mixed use went up about 3%, residential went up, 9 or 10. It's much more economically viable to do a multi-unit versus a mixed use right now. And so by doing this, what you're really saying is, I'm going to do the bare minimum, but the areas that potentially that you could slide some multi-unit in, now you can't. So I don't think this is a well thought through idea of how to develop your community. So go ahead.
And I think I know that. So what would you do what changes might you make so that you could support it?
I would go back, so look through those 5 zones now that you just said no to. Actually, isn't it at the end of your thing tonight is you're going to look at what the Housing Task Force proposed in terms of where you allow use and multi-unit for that matter. There were zones we said, we think this is a good opportunity to do multi-unit. So you're going to see it again down later in that table of uses and dimensional standards. So I think keep a more open mind about where you could squeeze some multi-unit in there. Again, if you can put a multi-unit on a piece of property that was not developed, that's worth a lot more money, and you need the dough to keep the town budget kind of stable. So, I mean, again, I think to answer your question, you're going to see some recommendations later on that speak to the very thing.
And to remind everyone, the state requirement is that we have a P in basically all of our commercial and research industry zones under either the residence multi-unit and or the mixed use rows. I mean, we have, for each one of those zones, it has to be permitted, at least one of those has to be permitted.
And the only other thing I'm going to throw in there, we are working on an amendment to this very thing, which is it's kind of, the legislator making your life a little bit harder. Nothing really, one that I think may go through is not substantively going to make it harder for you guys. It really would allow you to say no to that mixed use in the commercial zone if it didn't meet infrastructure, and that would allow you to do a traffic study, sewer study, water study, and see if it worked. And then, which is kind of consistent with what you can already do in like site plan regulations. But I think the one thing that it does add that's pretty good is that you could take a non-conforming building and as long as you didn't make it more non-conforming, you could convert it, so it would give you a little bit of flexibility potentially. So I don't think that's going to throw what you're working on out of line right now, but next year you may potentially have to do a small amendment.
We have you, so I'm like,
Yeah.
So you don't think this amendment as provided to us is a step in the right direction? You wouldn't approve this as a step in the right direction? You would go into something more substantial like was provided earlier?
Yeah. Honestly, if it, I find it a little bit annoying because I think the first proposal that went to the town council that they amended was fine. And now that you're back, you might as well just go into what is the housing task force proposal and look at where it does fit. Maybe take a little bit more time. It just is annoying because it takes so much more time. I'm sorry about that, but since you're at right now, I would think about how those proposals work, and maybe because you're gonna, if you just send it about how those proposals work, and maybe because you're gonna, if you just send it back to the town council and say, like, your amendment, where does that get you? I mean, if you come back and say, look, these are what the housing task force, this is where we think the multi-unit really does fit super well, and then craft that and send it back and say, this is a better thing. I mean, it'll take a little bit more time, I'm sorry about that, but again, it's right in your agenda right now to speak with, that you can look at it and kind of ponder it over.
Well, I think we should take the time on this one. I think this is an extremely important issue. And but I had a question that I thought you might be able to respond to.
I'll try.
Okay.
I didn't mean to take up your public hearing, sorry.
No, the argument that has been advanced by some citizens that is kind of supports your idea that this is a kind of a backdoor way of using the structure of the state legislation to limit the opportunity for multifamily development. The argument that I've seen articulated is that, well, this would incentivize development outside the core of the city, where revitalizing the downtown is a big priority. Now, I'll just tell you, so as not to be cute, that I thought that might be a false argument, because I don't think that there's just a limited supply of tenants, and if you build something central area or outside downtown, you're necessarily poaching a prospective tenant that could be downtown. That rather it's a synergistic thing. Get some energy, get some people wherever you can, and that was kind of my response. And then it's not adverse to the downtown area necessarily, and so that was my response. I wonder if you agree with that, or
yeah, it's not mutually exclusive. First of all, it's gonna be really, really hard to redevelop downtown. It's like the student housing market is it's not definitely robust. And when we redeveloped the downtown with the student housing, the market was such that you didn't need one incentive. It's just like you did that density and it was like, boom, cranes went up, it was built, done. And that does not exist anymore. So I think in terms of the multi-unit outside of the core, would you rather leave it like a single family home or fallow? Why? It's like, I think leave it like a single family home or fallow. Why? It's like, I think you can support other housing. I think we're going to have to think about how we can have housing outside of student housing. We need something other than that. If you can build nice apartments that are, from the downtown core, actually, it's probably easier because you can park and you can connect up to like 4 where we did the attainable housing, I was like, oh my gosh, we have Wentworth Douglas, Frisbee Hospital, Portsmouth Hospital, Exeter Hospital, and a nursing school sitting right here. Honestly, it's like, so there is other development that occur. I think that the focus on the downtown is like a black hole. It draws your attention there, and then you leave the rest of your community unattended to, and you never get anything done. which is a really bad idea. And I think we've been stuck in that for a long time. I mean, the other thing is we're like, the west edge is going to be developed. And I'm like, okay, I think I was 50 when that first happened. Now I'm collecting Social Security. It's like, for God's sakes, it's like, you have to actually get development done in a timely manner. And I think we have been paralyzed since we did the student housing downtown. Of course, the alternative was like Riverwood, which is nice. That was a great project. But, we have to continue onward. We can't stagnate. And I think the focus on the absolutely hardest project is, yeah, we need to do it, but that doesn't mean you don't do anything else. So that would be my argument.
Thank you.
So what are we doing on this?
Holding a public hearing.
But like what,
And then once we close the public hearing, I mean, so,
Discuss.
is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
I think there's anybody in there.
All right,
Then I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
second.
Thank you.
All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so
you,
what do we, now we get
Thanks,
to,
Al.
we get to decide. We have, I mean, in my mind, there's three options in front of us. First one is we send back what we originally sent,
Say we had it right the first time.
say we had it right the first time. Second one is we say, okay, we kind of like your idea, but you went too far. And we have Ps across both rows, all the way. All right, so make it clear that you can do either multi-unit
suggest that
or
it-
mixed use. We're not going to restrict either one. Or the third one was, as Al was saying, we say, you know what, we're not going to send this back, even though we're going to leave our current zoning in violation of state law, while we deliberate more on these rest of this stuff, throw a bunch of stuff in that is optional, and then have it, the whole package go back up to the town council. So, I mean, we could send this little fix in to get us in line with law, or we can try to pile a bunch of stuff in that it can give everybody reason.
Can I ask a question of the council?
Sure.
How was this idea brought to fruition at the council? Where did this idea come from? And I mean, I think I know, but I mean, if we could just discuss that so everybody understands. And what was the feel for it? I mean, was it like everybody on the council said, yeah, that's exactly, was it a unanimous thing or?
No, it definitely was not unanimous, and I actually voted against it for the very reasons that Al said. And don't remember what the vote was. I'd have to go back and look, but it was like, 5-4.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, it was close. And I think, I can't speak for the council as did vote, but there were quite a few members of the public that were in agreement with that idea.
The
Seems
idea
odd.
of bringing this before us.
No, the idea of changing it so that it wasn't just multi-unit housing that you could put there, or a mixed use, but just the mixed use in those particular zones.
Or just the mixed use.
Yeah.
Was that like about a desired building use? Like, to me, the difference here looks like you got a building and the first floor is commercial and the other one, it's all residential. Was that just to drive that form, commercial with residential? Is that the only difference here?
There wasn't any real reasoning behind it that I recall.
No.
It was late at night and people were getting tired, and at that point it was whoever was willing to stick their heels in the dirt the hardest was going to win the night.
So I was obviously coming at this not having been witness to anything that's happened, more than 2 weeks ago. And my hunch is that I wonder if the idea was proposed based on like the conversations and the talking points around Central Business District 1 and 2 and the validity of having a mixed-use building right downtown, someone's thinking, well, why wouldn't we want mixed-use buildings everywhere? Let's just make them mixed-use buildings instead of straight-up multi-unit buildings, not understanding the nuance of why you wouldn't want a first-floor retail space that far outside of town, when right now, downtown redevelopment.
Earl, question. Did you have an idea at that point what the new evaluations were going to be like?
Yes.
Then the only reason they would have been saying this would be to devalue the property, the development. If they knew that this was the fiscally more irresponsible, that was an actual decision they were making.
Well,
Well, I
Why?
think, who knows what the motives were?
Because it stops any development from happening.
well,
I got the impression that it was more multi-unit than it was pro.
So it is supposed to be a poison pill.
Yes.
well, and how, if I may interject here, no matter what their
My opinion
political,
anyway, but-
no matter what their political reasons for doing it, I think it's the responsibility of this board, as a planning board, to clarify what zones are used for and what should be in them. That's what we have zoning for. What should go where and why? And if it was just that we had one type of business district, be it the central business district, which is our most, it's Main Street US, you want mixed use because you create your stores and then go back, keep going back, and you're gonna see stores with people living on top. It goes back, went back everywhere. But there are, so let's just not worry about the political purpose of it. Let's look at what we have for commercial zones. We have a variety of commercial zones in very different areas that some, it could make sense to have that, create something like you have off of, in Dover, over there, they have that place, wherever, I can't remember the name of it. It's that place in Dover where they have quite a thing, and you have a mix of mixed use and multi-unit and single-family homes. But that would just be an absolute some of our commercial zones. It wouldn't be appropriate. It would stop the development of that land where you already want commercial. You're trying to already attract commercial to those commercial districts. So we will have commercial there if somebody wants to put commercial there. But we can then also have multi-unit built. And if we go through with what the Housing Task Force, as Al alluded to, we would also then allow mixed use with residential, but it's your choice. We wouldn't take away mixed use. It should be allowed, both should be allowed.
Right, right.
In the effort to move things along, do we mind if I try to work us through a decision tree again?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. First, so if we look at just the residence multi-unit line, is there anybody opposed to having that being all Ps?
All
As
what?
we- Permitted in the 5 locations that
Okay.
we had originally.
Yeah, I got it. I understand.
And Chair, just because I'm looking at that as well, so that would be Coe's Corner,
Coe's
Office
Corner,
Research,
yes.
Blue Door, Orly, and Durham Business Park.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what we proposed initially.
That's what we proposed initially.
And then they Xed all those.
They Xed them all.
Xed all those.
Is there anyone who thinks the X's should stay?
I think some of them might turn into P, but that's going to take some time with the council.
They're already required to be P by the state.
Well, no.
No.
They're only required to be P by the state if we don't make them P under mixed use.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Well,
next-
I'm sorry, I'm talking about multi-unit rather than mixed use. Okay, I've got no problem with the.
Residence
with-
multi-unit?
Yeah, Roman numeral 7, okay.
Okay. All right, now, if we have that, so going down to the principal use for mixed use with residential, which is Roman numeral 7 on the table of uses, yeah. If we have the Ps up above, and we can still, I don't have a problem with them both being Ps,
Yeah.
personally.
I'd go with both.
I just have a problem with the first one being X's and the second one being Ps.
Yeah, I haven't said anything on this, but I would recommend giving the council back what you originally did.
Yeah.
That was the right thing. It's not a good idea to have permitted use with mixed use in outlying areas. It's just not appropriate. Nobody's going to build that. To the extent that anybody might, it would be competing with the downtown. We want, and there is to be downtown. It would be an odd kind of development. Plus, mixed use with residential allows retail that are not otherwise allowed. So I don't think it really makes sense to allow certain kinds of commercial in a mixed-use building where it wouldn't be allowed in a freestanding. And I think you should be clear about what you want. And I think we're required to have some kind of multi-unit. I would just give them back what you originally had. I would be quite confident the council would be supportive of that, and that'll be the end of it.
And just a clarifying question, if we do that, a developer could still include a second primary use as long as it was a valid commercial use for that zone with a particular building.
Yeah, they could do a mixed use with office on the first floor if they wanted, because office is allowed in that zone.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Michael, in the housing, we are proposing it mixed use with resident allowed, just to remind you.
Oh, we are in those
Yes, we
zones?
are.
Oh, okay.
In the,
Oh, all right, well, we'll come to that.
Well, what about ancillary uses? Mixed use, to me, might be okay, notwithstanding Michael's argument, because the mixed use might really be incidental, but might support the residential development. You can imagine if there were some, a small
Convenience
store or service business was helpful to the residents, that it might make the residential more feasible. I mean, usually, I guess I don't want to poach scarce commercial tenants from possible tenancies downtown. The assumption that if there were a little bit of retail in some of these other zones, that it would really be something that downtown is something that that I think deserves a little examination. Is that really true? I mean, do we know? We don't have any way of knowing, I guess.
yeah,
I don't think we're going to see, you can have accessory uses in your building. You could have laundry for your tenants. Unfortunately, the state of the world is these days, we're not seeing 7-Eleven stores except across the street combined with the gas station. We're not going to see a corner bodega, at Mass Road and Main Street. You're just not going to see it, and it's probably not going to be very well designed or appealing anyway. So I think that the commercial uses that are already allowed there are sort of oriented toward research industry. It's office, it's R&D, that kind of thing. Wary of adding other retail, but if you do think that's appropriate, I would look at it separately as part of a broader review of the.
well, that's what we're going to be looking at. I would recommend we just send back what we originally proposed.
So do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
Do you want to go through finish your decision tree, or do you think?
Well, that was pretty much it. The rest of it, you guys more or less touched on it, which is, do we send it back now, or do we send it, or do we try to wrap a bunch of other stuff into it, which?
I think we discussed it. It was simple and straightforward, and they've come back and tried to make it more complicated, and I think we should just send back what is simple and straightforward. And we're going to be discussing mixed use with residential in the commercial during the housing amendments anyways, and at which point we can get into a
Okay.
deeper discussion about it.
So,
Then let's take a motion, we'll vote, and we'll see if everybody agree, if we have enough people agreeing.
all right, so I'll make a motion that our original proposal that showed residence multi-unit as P in Coe's Corner, OR, Moodor, Orly, and Durham Business Park be P as we originally submitted, and the on for the Ps in mixed-use residential not be included in that.
Second.
Second. Discussion.
Before we vote, we're still going to look at other issues, other problems or possibilities. We're only talking about
This
the,
piece.
yeah, replacing some X's with P's. Okay, I'm ready.
That, yeah, all we're doing is playing X's and P's, and the Housing Task Force thing is going to bring more
It's a
stuff
whole
to
different
us.
thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, any more discussion?
I just say I'm persuaded by the town planner's argument.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. All right. Our next item, prospective rezoning, lot on Cowell Drive, discussion about potential rezoning of 10 Cowell Drive, map 107, from Residence A to Churchill District, owned by
Yeah, I
Jeff Berlin,
understand.
Berlin Properties.
Did we get,
All right. So, yep, Mr. Berlin came and requested this, so I put it on the agenda. And we have a map, part of the packet, showing lot 27 with the red dot.
You want to plug that in just so everybody's, Sally, since you got the cord right there?
yeah, I can plug
Or
it
if
in.
you don't want to lose your stuff, plug it in.
Yeah, if you got it handy, already pulled up, you can plug it in. Because then I have to,
This is around, so everyone can see what we're looking. So 3, 2, there we go. Hey, it worked. Faster than normal. So we can see here, this is, oh, I can't, zooming out doesn't help much because it's trimmed.
no, that's good.
But you have, lot 28 is the post office. See, lot 27 is there, pretty much surrounded by Churchill and PO across the street, with just a little bit of bordering with the rest of RA there. Mr. Berlin is here. If you want it, I asked him to be here so that he could explain the reason why he wants to do this. If you guys would want to hear that. Is
I
that
would
what,
definitely want to hear it.
definitely
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to hear that?
Yep.
From Mr. Berlin?
You can
Are you
sit or
going,
stand.
are you going to need the screen at all?
Maybe, I don't know if the packet that Michael had sent out is easily accessible. I have a few copies. I actually
All right, use them.
accidentally
Oh,
printed
find it,
massive
Mike.
versions of it that I could use.
Is the whole packet,
Well, I
the
think
whole
we got
packet
it.
is there.
So this packet here?
That's the packet
Yeah,
right
we
here.
have. We
Yeah.
got it through the links.
Yeah, so- Yeah, is that it you're talking about?
Is this on? Yes, it is. Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
just show me, let me know where you want that.
Yeah, that's a perfect picture to start with. You'll notice that upper right-hand corner, that little peninsula that jets out, I colored that yellow because that's actually, that's the only portion I think that belongs in the RA zone of this particular lot. Visually, you can kind of see, it jets into this. The other thing that I want to note about that peninsula is that's actually there's a walking path that goes from the parking lot on Pete Murphy's property on lot 30. It goes onto his lot on 26, and then it cuts over the corner of that. So this lot is actually completely separated from RA. And then if you go to the pictures, there's there's 2 pages of pictures, the 2 below that, Paul. This sort of, I wish they were bigger. I wish they were 1 picture per page, but the bottom page will show you the biggest thing is that this is the view from the house. So that's from the deck of the existing structure, looking over the town. So we're by that. And I think the main point is that this is not an RA lot. I mean, you can sort of see where you're looking on basically 4 sides of this, that there's no homes in sight. There's commercial, there's industrial, there's a church, there's a parking lot, and then there's the back of the woods of a Churchill historic building. So it's also, this sort of idea stems from the fact that by right now we can build a fraternity house here, and it's just not what I think the neighborhood wants to see. I don't think it's what anybody here wants to see. And so as I was designing that, everyone kept asking me why I wasn't making it a multifamily, and I said, well, I'm not allowed to make it a multifamily. And then I was convinced to try to make that happen. And so because I'm fully vested in this town, and I grew up here and I want to see the right things happen here, I'm planning on taking as much time to see if we can work this out and make a project work here. The big thing that I'm seeing for a setback of this is actually, which I brought up a few times, but more specifically pointed out, is in the, well, it goes to what we're trying to build. So if we're trying to build non-student housing, you need to allow more units so that you can have smaller bed counts per unit. So for example, workforce housing, I would argue, or I don't really like the terms of the housing that we're talking about, but housing for non-students that is also not a family. So one of the things, this might be controversial, if you want to get more development in here but not contribute to the cost of the schools, one way to do it is to attract kids who, people who just graduated from college, young couples with no kids, and give them studios, 1 and 2 bedrooms. If you only allow 4 units on a lot like this, it just wouldn't, I'd have to build, 6-bedroom units for students to make it viable. And with the discussion around the housing and where we want to put it, and how, the discussion around the height on Main Street, and all the other things that we're talking about, a lot of the public comments that I heard around all of this, this massive topic, is that I heard, I think both sides, back in November, December, we're talking about the height, say that the people who wanted the smaller height were like, look, we're fine if you want to put density just outside of downtown, but not right in downtown. And this is exactly that location. So we have a grade differential, massive grade differential that could potentially allow for underground parking. The only, this plan was actually put forward to go through as the ZBA for a variance, and I went originally, didn't have the right plan together, didn't have enough for them, then sort of realized that they're gonna kick this to you guys anyways. I don't think they wanna do a zoning thing like this through a ZBA, a zoning change through the ZBA, so, or a variance in the ZBA. So this is the correct place to do it, I think, as Paul has indicated, and I think if you wanna indicate that you wanna get the foot traffic downtown, it's funny that that public hearing just happened on the similar subject, that we're saying that we want to, in areas exactly like this, we want to allow multifamily but not force them to do commercial. And you have an opportunity here to do it. I actually think that it shouldn't go to Churchill. I think it actually should be its own zone. I know there's controversy there around the spot zoning and things like that, but I don't think there's any controversy, and I don't think anybody would think that we're working together to collaborate on something that makes sense to do here. And I think that you should have a discussion around the reworking the minimum lot area per dwelling unit to allow me to do something that to build what I basically have proposed here, which is studios and 2 bedrooms. This isn't a final plan or anything like that. It's sort of just a conceptual thing on what we could potentially fit here. There's also, I was thinking about this the other day, pushing the setbacks, right up against it in this particular location could potentially make sense too, because any future development at that post office is going to hide most of anything that we put up on that. And then to the other side too, I don't know what kind of development would happen on Mark Henderson's lot. I can't really see much, since he didn't want to sell it to me to include in this little thing. He's sort of on his own now, but that woods is just going to remain, I think, wood. So trying to figure out the most density that we can get here for studios, 1s and 2 bedrooms is the idea, and I'm willing to make it work if you guys are willing to make it.
I support basically what you're proposing, but let me ask this. Given the new state legislation that you cannot identify students, you cannot restrict occupancy on the basis of family or non-family relationship, how are you going to keep these units from being rented by students rather than workforce or young families and so on?
There's no guarantee on that. The idea is that if you want to have a possibility of that happening, you have to design it with intent.
You do what?
You have to design it with intent, meaning not building 5 units with 7 bedrooms in each unit, because no one. So if you want to have the possibility, even like, I'm not in favor of forcing anyone to do anything like that, and that might be disagreements that we all might have. But in general, I think that if you're trying to attract non-students, you have to build a unit that would be attractive to a non-student. So we got to start there, and then I think in the theory behind this whole thing is that if you just build out the units to affect the supply, then they will, say 100% of these units are filled with students. Well, then wherever they came from, because someone also said this, maybe it was Gary, there sort of actually is a finite number. There is a finite number of students. So at some point, if people don't want a vacancy, they're going to have to rent to non-students. So whether it's at my property that non-students are starting to rent, or at someone else's property that I pulled their students from, then we're doing great things to affect the supply of the market.
Have you considered building a condo unit, that the units would be owned by the people who live in them, restrictions against renting the units?
I wouldn't be in it. My whole business is renting renting multifamilies.
Yeah.
So I'm not a developer that flips anything. I know people make a ton of money that way. It's just never been anything that I've done. So I would not be interested. Now, down the road, I think that they could potentially be condos at some point. I know they're building similar products in Portsmouth for crazy high price point condos that make no sense to me, but people are buying them.
Now, are you thinking of building crazy high-priced apartments for couples and individuals, single individuals?
I'm planning on building the most attractive multifamily building to attract the best tenants that I can. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. In effect,
But higher than the kind of rent that students would typically pay?
I personally don't ever max out any of my rents, if that's what you're asking, but if someone does do that, I'm not against that either. I want to have my units rented to good residents that respect the property and want to stay there for multiple years.
Do you think you would end up with on this lot?
The proposal that I have here, which would need extensive reworking of density and everything, is a proposal. I think it came down two bedrooms, but it was at 48 bedrooms. So it was 30 units. It was 12 studios, and the remainder was 2 bedrooms, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's been a few weeks since I actually looked at the details on this one. But.
Yeah, you had some 1 bedroom, some studios, and some 2s.
Yeah, it's studios and 2 bedrooms on there. It's the majority 2 bedrooms. So I manage the River's Edge apartments. Our 2 bedrooms after COVID became very attractive. We have a lot of kids staying after they graduate in those 2 bedrooms for many years now, which is great. So the 2 bedroom, I think, is the highest in demand, and I never have an issue renting, and I'd love to build out more.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm counting about 22.
Units?
No.
There's more?
On each floor, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 2 bedrooms on each floor, and then 4 studios.
Oh, okay, I must have
Yep.
miscounted. Question, and this is the kind of thing that I know we're so used to being very, very concerned about student housing in the town. For obvious reasons, there's going around from, past years, past decades. But these is going to be professionally managed. You're
If you consider me a professional.
Your other units are professionally managed. You don't let, obscene behavior to be going on. You do take care of your units pretty good.
We
from
take
what I
tremendous
understand.
respect for our buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the tenants would have to follow along no matter what. They have to obey the rules. It does get a little dicey, and I know that we still keep saying this thing, how are you going to keep students out of it? I don't think we should be saying that anymore. Students are now a protected class, and I'm just saying that we have got to stop as a town saying, how are you going to keep students out? Because you could fill that in with any other word. How are you keeping people of color out? How are you keeping transgender? That's the word. That's how it equates now. We have got to stop doing that because it's not good. human beings will be living in this unit, and they will be properly managed, is what you were saying?
Well,
Well,
The units.
so, anyway,
I have one.
we're talking about a zoning change now, not a project.
Paul, I got a
This
question.
would be,
Yes.
So this site has natural buffers. It's got the church, it's got the post office, it's got a church on the other side, and it's got the river. So it's a natural buffers from a lot of activity from exuberant young people. So this looks like the original intent of having this in RA was that it tucked in there as a residential unit, the buffer is there, a slide. What prevents Lot 26 from becoming the same thing? And all of a sudden, you're sliding a lot of this logs into RA in a place that we should, if we were to make a change, we should very thoughtfully figure out how to manage behaviors from exuberant young people. That's the concern in the town. So, how do we make sure that this natural buffer still works the way it works? Because I think it does work that way here.
So you want to use my lot as the natural buffer?
Your lot already is the natural
yeah.
buffer.
Yeah.
Your lot is already
Yeah.
buffered from the activity downtown because the post office is a ghost town once it closes. The church is
Post
quiet.
office is very loud at night.
Okay.
It is.
They get a lot of.
they get a lot of.
You should sidewalk it at night, actually.
Okay, so the post office does not have the behavior that the town is most concerned about. The natural buffer is the post office and the church buildings. I'm concerned that if this becomes a large building with 48 new units, how do we make sure that that creep doesn't places? Because the history shows that exuberance does not match up with families. And that's my biggest concern about this. If there was a river at 26 or a giant hill, that might be different, but it's creeping into that neighborhood, and I'm curious how we prevent that from being a problem.
Well, there is that path right there.
The path is nothing. It's once in a while people walk by. The path is nothing compared to 48 individuals living in the building. So
Quick question.
when we've talked about this in the past, I think a lot of people have dismissed that concern, and I'm curious how you would manage it. You're, one, not going to put the building up because it's not a real project yet. We're making a zoning change, and we're thinking about the worst bad actor, and I'm not describing you that way. I'm just saying the worst bad actor there is creeping into the neighborhood, and how do we make sure that that doesn't become a future problem?
Well, you let this happen. Don't take this as a threat, but we have a fraternity by right, basically. And we have many groups that are itching for me to build that.
I won't take it as a
Yeah,
threat.
don't-
So,
no, don't.
but
no,
you
I'm-
are.
No, I'm serious.
You
No,
are
I'm
saying
genuine.
you're
Don't take that. I have tremendous pressure to build this
what-
17-room rooming house right now with a detached. I have tremendous pressure to do that from many students. If you want me to answer your question, I'm being genuinely serious.
I'd love to
This
hear
is
it.
how you can do it, because I'm giving a proposal here to build out the opposite of that's what I'm doing. There's no shot that I rent a 17-room rooming house to non-students. That I could do that with this proposal. So that's my answer. That would be my answer.
So your answer sounded like, planning board, if you don't approve this, there's a fraternity going there. Is that the answer that I should take away from this?
Again, I would not take that as a threat, because that is not, I don't have any.
Don't throw it out there if you're not.
No, I'm saying, I'm just being honest with you that
So that sounds
if
like
your
a
question,
yes.
So-
if your question is what I think it was, that is the answer.
So Rob, neighborhood context might play a little bit into your concerns here.
So my question to Mr. Berlin is, how would a property in this spot be managed and built in a way that's responsible? And the answer I got back was, well, if I don't get this, I'll put a fraternity there.
Okay, yeah. Well, it goes back to Sally's, I guess. I mean, no matter who owns it, I guess you can't really control that. I'm committed, just as a personal thing, if that's what you're asking. I don't have, it's my entire business, so I self-manage. So if you consider me a professional, then that's how I plan on managing it, the same way I do the other 200 units that I currently do. We don't plan on doing anything different, I guess is the answer to that.
She had a question first, I know, earlier before the other
Let's
guys.
switch to the other side of the room. Peter?
So I think, we're having lots of discussions about students, but there are 2,400 grad students at UNH as well. And most of them do not live in Durham. They're commuting in from other towns. And this kind of housing, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, is prime for that market as well. And they're clearly more responsible, shall we say, than the undergrads by and large. Not 100%, but it's a market where young couples, verging on professional that are looking for housing close to campus. So that's another side to this whole.
And whether it's grad students or married students, they're two different groups. I mean, they both are looking for stuff.
Well, I can give you just another piece on that. I can give you a rough statistic on a growing demographic that I was saying that is currently at the River's Edge building, which is, I'd say we have close to 10% of holdovers that have graduated, are in the area 2-3 years out, and are staying in our 2 bedrooms. And they love it, and they're extremely thankful for them. And that's the whole point behind this, is to build out something that is actually desired by the market.
You got one over here.
Did we not just make a recommendation to comply with the state law that multi-unit residential buildings are mandatory in town?
So in the
mandatorily
commercial,
allowed?
in the commercial zones. So the RA zone is not a commercial zone. That's not one of the zones that we approved multi-unit for.
His little blue spot.
He's asking to be moved from RA into
Yeah.
one of the zones that allows it.
His little blue spot there is actually supposed to be yellow. It's supposed to be in the RA.
I
And he wants it to be that brownie orange.
missed the context
Yeah.
of the resident,
No.
of the commercial only, the commercial zones.
All right.
You got it, you're doing great.
I get it now.
And just a couple questions. I was researching this stuff, but so what's currently on that lot, right? I mean, I'm looking at my Google Earth, so I know what's there. But
Actually, I could, if you, let me, so 27, it's currently a small cape,
small white cape.
small white cape. Across the street at 21, that's Jeff's house. Next to it in 26, another slightly larger white cape that is owned by Peter Murphy.
That's rented students.
On the opposite side of 26 is another house that just flipped to student rentals years ago, last year. Across the street from that, so on 21, that's actually a road, Sour Terrace going down. Of the 3 houses down there, 2 of them are student rentals. This little neighborhood here is already 1/3 student rentals, and it's all basically the buildings that you first hit as you enter it.
And then you have St. Thomas More, and Father Andy lives almost right across from there.
Yep,
Father-
in those,
Father Andy
in the
lives
green
right
buildings.
right there.
Yep. Yep.
Luke's where?
In the rectory, in the house for the church, Father
In
Andy.
the-
Yeah, you see that there's an extra building on the church property?
Yeah, that's right. Both terrific.
The rectory?
And so, and then next to you, of course, in 28, you have the federal building, which is large parking lot. And if you took a ball and you threw it from that lot right there, you could hit CB1 with those buildings that are,
It's a pitching wedge, 54 degrees.
that's right. Or a football, you could throw it over to.
Somebody got it. Somebody.
What would the projected walk be from like the lot that you're talking about down into, say, right downtown, smack downtown?
To Wildcat Pizza?
Yeah.
45 seconds?
And then the Durham Market, what would that be?
A minute and a half, depending how quick you move.
Across the street.
Yeah.
And then, so in terms of the location and having, people there, when I just look at the map and then I visually look at that, it looks like it
It looks like it,
conceptually
right,
could make a
right.
lot of sense.
That line we drew in the yellow on that other thing is, it literally looks like it's it's like a cyst on RA.
And then I'll just make an observation. When I was looking at that, I might do it a little differently. I might carry CB1 over into the federal building and absorb that lot. So you would just carry CB1 over is another option that might make sense.
I tried to contact the new admin to figure out if they'll sell that building, but I haven't made any leeway. If you guys have any options, that'd be.
But if you were looking at doing things, that could be when I look at what CB1 looks like, and then I look sort of there, I can sort of mentally, I can sort of make that leap that might make sense just to carry it on over. It's centrally located. You've got, that's where you want density. You want people walking there. So it doesn't seem unreasonable to me to sort of consider this.
I don't think that I have a picture of this too, but there's one thing that you should know is so that building, I don't know if you can zoom in on that, Paul, at all, but that building.
Which building?
Sorry. The blue lot, just zoom in on the blue lot. The shape of that building is the overlay of the sort of conceptual building. One thing to note is that the majority of that front yard is actually past the lot line. So like the road of Cowell, that building is set back like 40 feet, 35 feet from the road. So there's a tremendous amount of right-of-way that's actually our front lawn. It's hard to describe. You have to just walk the site, but the front lot line is significantly into the front.
And I think even on the
What is
other
it- what's
side
the
of the federal
relevance of
building,
that?
you have CB1 there as well.
It provides a tremendous amount of space between whatever is going up. I guess I'm just trying to highlight how far away the structure actually is from RA, from the actual,
Set
the
back
rest
from
of
the
RA.
road, you mean?
I'm sorry?
Set back from the road?
Yeah, it's just tremendously set back from the road. Yeah. And there's a tremendous amount of elevation from the left side of that, so the west side to the east side. And so, yeah, there's just a ton with that lot that you can use to put something thoughtful there.
I think we
Okay.
need to see the site.
All right, so that was, questions is, do we want a formal site walk?
Yes.
I have another question. A building going on the site, would it be subject to site review?
If it's the type of building, so, depends on the type of building, right? If it's qualifies as a single-family house, no. If it's a multi-unit, yes.
So this proposed building here that's been shown as a concept would,
I'd love to work
That
with
would be a
Michael on.
site, that would be site review, or, yeah.
and we could require it be professionally managed?
Yeah, we've done that in the past.
But this lot would not allow more than 3 dwelling units without a variance, though.
That goes to the point that Mr. Berlin was making about the lot density, which Sally's going to make as part of the Housing Task Force, of why we have to seriously look at our housing density requirements, because they are doing exactly the opposite of what we are repeatedly said we want to have happen.
And wouldn't that also depend on if, the proposal is to move it into church, I believe. But, one could make the case that maybe it's CB1. You got CB1 essentially across the street from the federal building. And, the federal building's just gapping it to my other.
Mike, you're.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Talking past your mic.
So I guess, it would depend on which zone you are, and I think you could make the case that, you just, CB1 is all the way across the street already, across from the federal building, on both sides. So if you carried that across, things change. There's a proposal to make it church, but, looking at that with fresh eyes, I think one could consider other options there as well.
But then if it was CB1, it would be required to be mixed use with residential. You couldn't just do multi-unit.
You have ground floor.
It would have to have commercial. That's why I think that.
Well, I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
So I was just
yeah.
going to look
If it
that
was
up.
CB
Okay.
Let's.
I mean, I'm just throwing, when we're
It's an idea,
gonna.
so let's not pick it apart, all right? We can pick it apart next meeting.
Fair enough.
It's not adverse to have that.
I mean, in order to make it CB1, we'd have to bring the post office lot in as well.
That's right, exactly.
And maybe it should be. It is already mixed
All right,
use.
did you have?
Are you ready for a motion?
Well, I think we need to,
I don't think we need a motion tonight, do we? If all we're doing is scheduling a public
We have to-
hearing.
Well,
if you-
setting up a sidewalk.
Do you
we
want
want
to
a
set?
site walk.
if you
We need a
wanna-
site walk.
Sidewalk and schedule a public hearing.
I mean, if everyone's on board, then you don't need a motion unless there's someone opposed that wants to speak.
All right,
Okay.
Well, let's talk about the
set up-
site walk.
Let's set up a site walk first. All right, so,
What have we got?
yeah, when do we got, so we'd like daytime,
Yes, we'd like daytime so we can
and,
see. We can go by at night and listen to the post office drops.
Just get a lawn chair and sit and listen to the lights.
so,
It's wonderful.
so permission for it at
Yeah.
any time we like.
Yeah.
Has been granted.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And, I think the best place to park for this would be in the Sammy's lot,
Or the post office.
office.
I think you get some time in the
or
post office.
the, depending on the time of day, the post office.
Or along.
You can park on Sour for, what is it, an hour? 2 hours.
Not with the snow the way it is right now.
Is that sign contingent
We
on
will-
the snow?
No, what I'm saying, right now, Cal drives a
Yeah.
one-lane road.
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
It's just,
We park.
so I'm just laying that out there right now. We've got a bunch of new plow drivers who aren't sure where the edges of the roads are. But in their defense, it's a tricky road to plow because there's no curbs and you can't tell, and if you get too close, you can end up going down a hill sideways.
Yeah, post office and Sammy's, I think.
Wherever,
So
yeah.
post office and Sammy's would be the places to park. And what day do people like? You want to do it, we're supposed to get more snow this Saturday, so that's out.
What's our objective that we want to figure out on the site walk?
I think the real thing is, as you were saying, is looking around and seeing, are there concerns with, are we bringing Churchill too close to other RA areas?
I think everybody really needs to understand that
And-
this is a real issue with the creeps and the natural buffers. I've lived in those neighborhoods and I have a good sense of it. I think a lot of those discussions were dismissed out of hand with the way some of the prior legislation was done. And my skepticism that probably is playing on this stems partially from question of, is the developer going to solve that problem and focus on it? And that's where the professional management comes in. So when people are there at the site work, they should stand there and look at the yellow and say, would I want to live in those houses? That's the natural buffer question that I wanted to emphasize for people to make sure they think about when they're there.
That's
'Cause
one
it's a
side
real
of it.
problem.
The other side of it is, and it is part of the question of what do we see this area of town becoming in 20 and 50 years?
Yeah.
Then we should, I'm raising the issue because if that's occurring, we should talk very explicitly migration looks like.
Because that is one of the questions that has come up as side conversations several times. Where do we see downtown creeping out to? And So-
And another way that you might phrase that is where does infill take place? Right? I mean,
Yeah.
where does density arrive?
Yeah.
And then it could
yeah.
either be viewed negatively or positively, I think.
Yeah, in infill, like a small family home, infill, ADU, that works all day long. This is a big impact. This is 48 people.
And you, I
big
guess
compared
it's a
to
process
what's
thing about
happening
when do
there
we
now.
discuss it, but you could take a ball
Yeah.
and throw it to another 48 unit,
Yeah.
Across the
so
street.
let's,
essentially across the street.
right, let's,
The other way to look at it is that it's 48 more people that'll
We need a
service those
date.
businesses downtown.
we need a date.
Within
So,
walking distance.
where's my calendar?
Well, we're looking at a date. I'll just throw this one idea out there, is we've had this discussion before about those kind of buffer zones that we have these commercial zones right next to residential zones, they are often conflicting. So we've kind of thrown the ball around to discuss buffer zones at some point too.
Does February 7th work for people?
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Saturday.
Is that for a walk?
Set for a walk. Saturday, 10 a.m.?
Okay.
You're shaking your
If we
head
drag,
no?
or we could do it a little later, and then people can do
no,
lunch
I-
downtown?
Oh, okay.
I'll see it before then when I walk my dog down there, which I do often, so, yeah, I don't need to be
All
there
right.
on the 7th. Well, you should remember too that, the neighbor to this property or neighbors to this property are already students, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, those lots next to it are already adjacent to Churchill, so
Yeah,
just pointing that out.
yeah.
10 a.m. is it?
10 a.m.
10 a.m., 7th, oh yeah, I should probably plug right in.
And then possibly if Michael could just give us some procedural process mapping on take place and what would normally be involved here if we were to do something like this, would be helpful.
It would be a zoning amendment process would actually be pretty much identical to all the other zoning amendments you've done. Yeah.
And so it'd just be a process, there'd be a public hearing, there would be we would move these lots or one lot or multiple lots into a certain zone, and then that would take place in public hearing and approval and town council approval.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I will say, use your judgment. I see arguments both ways, so you'll use your judgment here. But one thing that this would not be spot zoning, so you don't have to be concerned about that.
Do we need, and I'm sorry, do we need to have contiguous? In other words, does it need, let's say CB1 flows across there, seems reasonable, or let's say church comes in, does it need to be?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do CB1 for a couple reasons, but Churchill is contiguous. So you certainly, it would not be spot zoning. You would be on solid ground if you wish to rezone this Churchill. And likewise, if you wish to leave it the way it is, there's arguments both ways.
And then just to the potential applicant, I know there's no, I mean, the CB1 is just sort of when I look at the map, it seems reasonable, and then, okay, you need to, commercial on the first floor. Maybe for the town, that might be a better bet. Do you have a problem with CB1 designation?
I don't, to Sally's point, it's much easier to make it work all residential, which is what I was hoping to do, because I need to incorporate as much parking as well. So ideally Churchill, but I guess maybe it's a question for Michael. The spot zoning is, I guess I was bringing that up because if for whatever reason there's no density in Churchill, this wouldn't work unless the density was amended somehow. And so to create this as its own zone or a hybrid or an offshoot, I don't know what options are there, but.
Yeah, if this is to be rezoned, the only option would be Churchill.
Yeah, so then I guess to answer your question, I don't even know yet because I have to figure out the density.
It's a better, deeper answer to your question. We tried to put Mill Plaza property into its own zone.
Oh, okay.
And that was called spot zoning by the lawyer.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'm not an attorney.
So what's the square footage of the lot, and what's our number that we plug into the math? Is
Well,
it like
it's a third of an
20,000
acre
square
and it's
feet?
4,200.
So,
It's 15,280.
so site walk on the 7th, public hearing on the 11th?
All right, so you want to schedule a public hearing now?
Why not?
Yeah, there's no harm in having it, and then we can argue about it for as long as we want afterwards.
What's the date of the public hearing next?
I think you mean discuss it, don't you, Chair?
Yeah, that too, the 11th.
Okay. No, that's a site walk. Public hearing.
Public hearing is the 11th. Site walk is the 7th.
Oh, right.
But do we want to have a public hearing right there, or do we want to have a discussion after the sidewalk and then schedule the public hearing? In other words, the public hearing is, we're making a proposal, getting a public input. The
Well,
other is, we're going to
We
talk
can
about
have
it.
a public hearing on this, and then if we decide we want to do something like you're proposing, which is grander, we could talk, and then we decide that's what we want to do, then we'd just schedule a second public hearing.
Okay, that's fine.
All right,
So the
anything
7th?
more on this item? Anything from you?
See you on the 7th?
See you on the 7th. Cool.
Thank you.
We won't be snowing.
Will be warm too. Don't bet on that.
All right.
Okay,
And Michael, just for clarification, on, like, if we have a lot, right, and it's, our current Churchill density is 5,000, so a 15,000 square foot lot could only do 3 units? Is that how all that math works?
Right, so it's 4,200 square foot per unit, and this is about, let me just get the number,
So that would be 4 units.
so
Yeah,
you,
4, 3,
so it
5,
doesn't
6,
even, so that's, so
It
it
doesn't even make
can't,
what we.
so given the current numbers, for lot itself doesn't actually even qualify for multi-unit, it only qualifies as a 3-family house.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even put a 4-family house on it,
Well,
yeah, you could get just 3 units.
all right? So, and that's a perfect lead-in to what the Housing Task Force wants to tell us.
yeah,
So we're done with that
we're
one.
moving on.
So, item 10, zoning amendments recommended by Housing Task Force. Discussion about amendments proposed by the task force to expand opportunities for residential development with changes to the table of uses, table of dimensions, and zoning text affecting single-family residential, 2, 3, and 4-unit residential, multi-unit residential, senior housing, mixed use with residential, lot sizes, density, setbacks, frontage, and other elements.
Okay. All right, so this is the Housing Task Force legislation. We've done lots of bits and pieces, but this was finally the culmination of everything that we came up with to recommend for townwide adjustments in zoning. You all have your copy. So I'm just going to go through it. This is actually the original one we did for the community. I thought about redoing it for you guys, but I figure it was fine. It actually gave us opportunity for a talking point. Anyways, these are just accomplished. I'm getting straight into this. Is some. Anyways, so.
I hate to interrupt.
Okay,
This
go
is,
back.
it's different than the presentation that I see in the directory on, in
Yes,
the directory
because,
online.
because that is not the correct one.
Okay.
I don't know why that one is there. That's just the wrong one that was put in
Oh,
there.
which is that?
You had the outreach one in there.
On the,
I apologize
on
for
the website
interrupting.
under current planning, is that right?
Yeah, it wasn't the presentation. I think it was the wrong one.
Oh,
Sorry, Sal.
No, I noticed that myself. I'm like, no, that ain't. So this is actually, I can go back. For those of you that don't know, I don't know how many members may not know, but the Housing Task Force was created in 2020 as the Economic Development Committee was being sunsetted. It was a suggestion, actually, Council Howland and myself and Todd Selleck, we had a discussion about looking at housing in a serious way because we knew that in our work with the downtown and coming across dealing with other towns that housing was definitely shaking its head in a big way, and it was a problem, and it was a definite problem in Durham. We did a housing assessment. We discovered that, I think what most of us know, that we had plenty of student housing and we had plenty of over 55 housing, but we did not have a lot of housing or any housing that was available for a significant demographic, basically I think between the ages of 25 and 45. And our 45-year-olds were actually leaving town too. So you can all look at the housing assessment. So I think we've discussed that. These are some of the things that we've done. We did our housing needs assessment, conduct a survey with business owners. We conducted outreach with all of our boards and committees and commissions. We did sponsor, as you guys remember, you were obviously a major part of that, the Attainable Housing Overlay District, and that was adopted December of 24. At the request of the council, we suggested 4 initiatives that focus on opening housing opportunities in the downtown core, We have reviewed all the new state legislation regarding housing. Most of it popped up after we had already come up with some ideas. So, and we have reviewed the current zoning code to suggest adjustments to increase opportunity in Durham. And of course, our focus was always to increase housing opportunity. We have to really look at what we allow, and we may need to change some things because, you know, I know some people in the community say, well, you know, there's other ideas you should come up with. Well, we're focusing on zoning. And before you can build anything, it has to actually be legal to build. But you guys know that because you're the ones who make it legal. So I'm just going to go through these. These are following along in the table of uses. So one of our first things that we're suggesting here is, we all know 108, which is our office research route. It is that main route into, from Durham to Dover. It is where Riverwoods is. And if you ever drive down there, you'll notice that there's a lot of single-family homes there. There are some businesses. There's a church there. There's a police station there. And there's a large multi-unit facility at Riverwoods there. It is currently zoned to not allow resident single-family, even though there's a considerable amount of resident single-family there. So in the zone includes several single-family residences that are now non-compliant. We're suggesting we change to business residential, from office research to business residential. With a change to business residential, those single homes will come into compliance and also be eligible for redevelopment for multi-unit residential should they desire to do that, as some of these homes are aging out. And that could be, since we already have a multi-unit residential zone building there in Riverwoods, it would fit right in. And the opportunity to develop commercial and could expand, we could still expand housing possibilities. So that is one suggestion that we have. Any questions on that? We are suggesting that we allow residents 2, 3, and 4 units. We want to remove the definition for residence duplex and replace it with residence 2, 3, or 4. All right. We could have a building or lot with 2, 3, or 4 total residential dwelling units, and these would be dwelling units more than likely to purchase. So they would be denser homes on smaller footprints, maybe, you know, for the most part connected, and they would be to purchase more than likely. They would not necessarily be for sale, but they would be an opportunity for somebody to build into it. It could be a condo type of situation. The units may be configured in any manner in a number of buildings, including side-by-side, duplexes, vertically stacked, townhouses, row houses, and cottage courts. And these would be permitted in rural Residence A, Residence B, Residence C, professional office, Churchill, Coast Corner, residential business, permitted also in our conservation subdivision, should we get to that, in our Moodor, Orley, and Deep Durham Business Park. So that gives an opportunity, those type of homes in any of those areas. Right now, we're not even allowed to build duplexes. And there is a lot of resistance. There's been a lot of resistance to duplexes in the town because of bad experiences 4 decades ago, but it's the conditions on the ground now are very different, and it's time to look to the future. These are some examples of what those kind of houses could look like. So the largest unit you would be building would be 4.
So Sally, on that, there's a definition allowed, and then you got to work on the table.
Yeah, it's in the table, yeah. It's in the table on residence, where it now says residence duplex, it now says 2, 3, or 4 unit residence.
Well, no, I mean on the dimensions.
Oh, and the
So,
dimensions.
I'm just trying to get my head around.
Oh,
Are you going to cover that?
Yeah, we'll get to the
Okay.
dimensions, yeah.
And you're including rural, residence A, B, C, PO,
Yeah.
and rural as well.
Yeah,
Everything.
everything. And this is what they could look like. You see these type of things all of, whoops. Senior housing. We are recommending that we remove senior housing, single family, senior housing duplex, and senior housing multi-unit. That just to get rid of the whole option. The town of Durham has an abundance of these types of units, and the Housing Task Force is thinking we should encourage general housing that is multi-generationally focused. We don't need to, I think the logic behind senior housing is dated, and it's put in because in our attempts to create senior housing, we are, we're forcing our families out. And senior, you don't have to live in a senior housing facility. You can live anywhere.
If someone can develop multifamily, they can develop it and market it to seniors if it works.
Yeah, anybody, yeah.
I mean,
You can
so-
wear, yeah. And, well, and this is what, we had for the reasoning, it's, bridging those generational gaps. It's healthy, and it's a supportive community to have everybody living together. We don't have to, with the housing crisis, and I think, people are kind of, a lot going on in the world and in this country right now, and people are kind of forgetting that we still have a shortage in housing. And housing is still one of the main concerns in that younger generation. But we also have a problem with housing in our older generation that are overhoused. And it's nice knowing that, you're going to be living in an environment where your neighbors are younger that can help you, where somebody is there if you fall, where you may not have the money to live in a Riverwoods, but you can afford an apartment, and you're kind of exchanging, that.
What was the origin of, like, we have residence duplex, and that's X, but then we have senior duplex, that's okay. What's just about school kids?
That was about college students. Michael,
College
you were,
or school kids?
College.
Like,
College.
currently, we say residence duplex is allowed. Residence duplex.
Think about where the duplexes showed up. They showed up on Dennison, Co., and Young Drive, and they all became student housing immediately.
So it wasn't about school kids.
It wasn't about school kids, it was strictly
Okay.
about,
college students.
we're building these things and it's just being sucked up by, because we had no multi-unit housing off campus for them. They were all,
It's the only place to
we were
go
all,
at that
we were sending
time.
them all out of town.
Yeah.
Can
And it's
you
different now.
Just go back to the senior, just one. Is there any special tax rate or other considerations given to senior housing that is not applied to non-senior housing? Or-
Yes,
Yes, they don't
they
have to pay the
get,
school
they
tax.
get the school tax refund.
The impact fee.
If it's a continuous care, no,
No.
only if it's a
Continuous care.
continuous care retirement community, and that's Riverwoods. Only then.
Did they wiggle out of the impact fee too historically? Like, did Sprucewood pay impact fees back in the day? Probably not.
Way back, I
When
mean,
Sprucewood was built?
Sprucewood.
No, it's only a continuous care retirement community because that's a nonprofit. So they're payment in lieu of taxes. That's the only senior facility like that in Durham.
Oh, let me ask a question better. Peyton's trying to figure out, is there any financial difference there? What
The
does
planning
the
board-
school impact fee apply to?
The planning board frequently waived the school impact fee for things like senior and student housing. And it's only recently where we've decided that that was a bad idea and we started
Charge it to everybody.
charging, yes.
Because everybody pays.
Because
Everybody.
it was waived by default because we weren't seeing families going in there, and that was a
It's an outdated idea.
outdated idea, yes. Very good way of putting it.
Because that seems rather, I'm not going to say radical, but.
It is radical.
I don't, so would an HOA or some developer still be allowed to do a 55 and over? Could they write covenants that say I'm 55 and over?
Sure.
Of course
Yeah, they can.
They could.
Yeah, they can.
But
We're just
just as
not
a
going to
matter
give
of
them-
policy from
We're just
the
not
town.
we're just not giving
we're
them
just gonna say, okay,
special,
We're not giving them a density bonus anymore.
it's the density
Think
bonus.
of the definition as a tool to afford special treatment to senior housing as opposed to other uses.
That's right. Okay.
And the
Yeah.
reason that that had been done in New Hampshire is because they don't generate students. A lot of towns have done that.
Right.
And so we're,
And what we're trying to do here, one of the thoughts here is if you look at the demographic curves, we're approaching our peak right now for the demand for senior housing.
yeah.
It's actually going to start receding over the next 5 to 10 years. We shouldn't be adding more into or we're going to end up like the student housing where, the students are going away and we're going to have all this extra housing we have to repurpose. But we've legally created an environment, because it's 55 and older, where it's going to be difficult to repurpose.
And baby boomers are a finite number. I don't want to scare anyone, but
Getting fine now, they're all.
we only have so many and they're getting older.
Thank you for sharing that, Sally.
I'm that one between.
Is there any precedent to bring the requirement of a 55 and older community that was approved, and then 25 years later they say that's not required anymore? Is that legal to do?
That's certainly happened. If there's a zoning bonus and then you want to change it, you could, but apart from that, it would be an amendment on a site plan designation. And we had an application before, something was approved for senior housing. The owner had trouble renting, came to the board, wanted to amend it to just throw that out, and the board rejected that. Particularly if there had been a density bonus earlier and then they want to change it, gets a little tricky.
But then if it's written into HOA or anything like that, you have another layer of
It's a
stuff
whole
that you have to
layer.
get rid of as well. So that's what I say, is you have these multiple layers that have to be peeled away.
Yeah,
I have no further questions on the
Private issue
topic.
at that point.
yeah. I mean, keep in mind that instead of having density for senior residential uses, it's going to be special density standards that we're changing that name to. Senior care facilities and nursing homes would still get that bonus, and workforce housing. That still gives those density bonuses. It's just that we're not handing them over to senior housing. Because we want to encourage builders to build multi-generational opportunities. And of course, whoops. Pork chop development, or flag lots as they're called. We want to allow the pork chop subdivisions in RA and RB where they are currently not permitted. This would allow us to use rare areas of lots that do not have road access, and the use of a shared driveway would make better use of the odd-shaped lots and lots that this could pertain to.
We just approved it.
Yeah, we just did
Yeah.
that.
That was
Yeah,
over,
so-
yeah, because the difference is that was over, you had a landlocked lot and a separate lot. This would allow someone to subdivide into the
I
scenario.
get that.
Yeah.
But I'm
creative.
saying,
Yeah.
what we did was essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have this, you have that.
With the
Yeah.
exact same driveway layout.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, this is that lot.
Should have been on the right.
Actually, just as an anecdote, I went and checked that out. It really came out great. You guys, when the snow melts, go check it out. It really works that way.
Yeah, it does.
I walk
It does.
by it every day.
Oh, what do you
Yeah.
mean, on Emerson?
Yeah. Go by and check it out. It looks,
It would work better, even better, if they also developed the lot next to them, which the town owns.
but Sally, we're talking too much. Keep going.
No.
I'm sorry, Sally.
That's fine. So we want to make this would open up some lots that could be, it could be very useful. I keep doing that. I don't know why. Accessory dwelling units, and this is where the state kind of caught up with us. Right now, in our present zoning, with excuse from aside from what the state is saying, we do allow accessory dwelling units that are attached to the primary residence. We only that has been our zoning all along, that your accessory dwelling unit must be attached to the primary residence. There must be a door that is able to be locked, attaching, which is silly, and understand the logic behind that. We are suggesting that ADUs can be attached or detached depending upon how it is best situated on the lot. A detached unit now is allowed by right as per HB 570, signed into law July 2025. So this was one of our suggestions, but the state's
It's been superseded by.
this, yeah. So we're thinking it already, and that's one of the things that the state has already said. So we can have that discussion, but it's kind of a moot point at this point. Yeah. I don't know why you do that, guys. So these are some, if it was detached, that would be great. They are very attractive units. There's some lots where that is much more practical. Creates a much nicer space for quality rental, and just really, it's great. I don't understand what the problem would be. Now, residence multi-unit allowed in commercial zones. Table of uses. As per HB 631, last year, that's last year, multi-unit residential is allowed by right in all commercially zoned areas, and that took effect January 1st, which we know, and we just had that earlier. That was what was sent along. That zoning fix was sent along to the council, and that's what came back to us to suggest that we turn that into what they discussed. But the downtown subcommittee did propose this, and the town council did approve residence multi-unit and professional office, Church Hill and Courthouse. So we did actually already propose this for the downtown business commercial core for some ideas to increase housing downtown. So this has been already passed by the downtown and passed by the state. So the question that we will have probably when we get into this will be with the mixed use with residential component that we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, I think that was something that we slipped through the cracks, definitely. The idea that, you can allow a multi-unit on a table of uses, but then you don't allow the city to actually be able to do it.
Yeah, and we need to discuss that. When we first proposed this multi-unit residence, we were looking at those areas that were close to the downtown, which is professional office, Church Hill, and Courthouse. And we were focusing on that, and we did pass that already, but the Housing Task Force wanted to push that even further and move that into all of our other commercial zones, which also are covered now by HB 631. So we're saying that multi-unit should be allowed by right in business residential or OR, Moodor, Orly, and Durham Business Park. And that is already kind of being covered in that change that we sent to the council to cover the state changes.
Just one thing, in the actual drafting of the amendment, watch out for the "or" disjunctive on business residential or permitted, because what I saw had an
Oh,
and
that's an OR. It's not or,
Should be
no.
BR.
That's OR.
It's OR, yeah. Our original office research, the OR's office research. I should have put
office
down
research,
office
okay,
research.
okay.
Which we are suggesting be changed to business residential.
Okay, good. But still, when we get to the amendment, let's look at the
We need to
drafting.
exactly. That's a good point.
At the business park, how did that multi-unit get approved out there? Was that a conditional use?
Business Park,
The Harmony Homes?
that's
Yeah.
a senior care facility.
No,
But
the workforce
multi-unit
housing unit.
Workforce, you must have done a CU on that.
Yes, we did.
That was considered to housing homes.
Because it's for their employees.
Yeah, makes sense.
Anyways, the benefits to residential and commercial zones,
People.
people, depending upon the zone, and I think that, what we were looking at earlier, what the council brought back, I think it's fine to allow mixed use with residential in these commercial zones, but you must also allow the multi-unit. It can't be one or the other. There could be some commercial zones where it really works to have coffee shops or different types of businesses in it, and it could become a very, depending upon the plan and how many units you're going to be there, there's a lot in play, but it should not be risk only that kind. We need to keep as many options open instead of trying to, micromanage everything. And these is what, some of our multi-unit housing can look like. There's Riverwoods, and these are what multi-unit housing looks like. Now, this is not a plan, this is not what's going to look like, this is just suggestion, this is what they could look like. And of course, we are suggesting that mixed use with residential be allowed in all of our commercial districts, where it is not right now necessarily permitted, where we have our commercial districts, but we're saying if it's appropriate for that particular development, allow them to create a mixed use with residential, as well as or a mixed or multi-unit residential.
Just a quick, why on CB2 is it conditional use?
Well, that was what we originally created for CB2 when we switched up CB1 and CB2 into two separate zones. We left CB2, it's kind of moot at this point. We left CB2 because that's the Mill Plaza, and because of the issues that we had there, we have, again, a very commercial district bordering a residential district. We have, again, those hard lines and very different lifestyles. We kept it as conditional use at that, where it's allowed by right.
And
By the state.
By the state.
I would say that,
So this is,
we could make it P,
Yeah.
but we have to look very closely at the table of dimensions to ensure that it's not CB1, that it's an actual transition zone going down to faculty.
it's a different type of business zone, but
Got it.
I mean, that was the
So is-
purpose of CB2, is to become that transition zone.
So let me just make, saying that the CB2 thing is allowed by right now, so the CU doesn't apply there anymore?
Right. That's
That's the new
that's
state law
correct.
drove that?
Yeah.
No, mixed use with residential is still conditional use in CB2.
We can't forbid multi-unit in CB2 at this point.
We can build multi-unit,
It's got to be by right.
but it could, yeah.
We're not allowed to forbid it.
Oh, right, if we have to allow it, that means it has to be P, permitted.
Yeah, it has to be permitted, it can't be conditional use. So it's now permitted, so we do need to look at that.
I'm not clear. Tell me that again, Paul.
As what we had during the first item tonight, multi-unit, and actually, let me go back, that might have been,
Oh, right.
that might have slipped by.
No, we did, we changed that to P.
Yeah.
On that-
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It's, we can't forbid multi-unit wherever there's commercial, state law. So that means that anybody can do a de facto mixed use for any allowable commercial uses. We can't keep them adding multi-unit.
They can by right now, because of HB
The only,
631.
the only thing we have works for us would be control the heights, control the density, but we have to allow the multi-unit.
Which if that had come earlier, that would have obviated the need for the Housing Task Force to come up with a creative CB1 and CB2.
I know, that's why I'm
Well,
like,
no,
okay, it's a
I mean, we
wash.
can still, I think, serves
It-
Durham as a transition zone, that
And-
I'm not ready to throw that away.
And the reality, as a transition zone, because even when we brought this to the council, I know Councilor Friedman was very interested in expanding the CB2 down Mill Road to create more of a business. And so that is something we could look at in the future, because we could look at what's there, what kind of business is there. That would be the perfect type of transitional place where you have that you could have multi-unit there without having to have residential with it, or you could have mixed-use residential. So CB2 could become very valuable in extending our, creating a really comfortable kind of a cushion zone. So it's worth looking at later. These are just our,
So will so when the presentation is made available on the website,
Oh, this is on the website.
it's just not on the planning board's
No,
website.
it is on the, I don't understand, it's on the planning board, current, non-residential housing task force. It has 3 things on there, the amendments and your PowerPoint.
Okay, well, I'll look, I didn't see it
Except
there.
Yeah, maybe, I wonder if
Wrong
you're
one
looking at the
goes up.
housing
Michael,
task
yeah,
force.
when you go in through
when you
this
do
link,
this,
it's
when
not.
you do this,
It's the wrong one that
It's the
comes
wrong
up.
one,
you end up on this page,
yeah.
It's the wrong
the
one.
Sunsetted Durham House Task Force.
It's just a little blurb there.
Yeah,
So it got mislinked.
yeah.
No, I mean, when I go on here, so current, press residential development.
Right, but that's not what the agenda does.
Oh, the agenda.
Yeah, I always come in through the
Wrong
agenda
place.
exactly like that, and then I click down, and then I, do my thing,
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
okay.
I come back.
You know, we all work based
Huh.
on these headers here
Right,
of the
exactly.
agenda.
And people in the
And that's what has
community,
to be linked properly.
people in the
Yeah,
community
look at
may
that.
actually be, because if they would go back and they want to go back to a specific meeting, it's easier to go back to the meetings and go to the specific one and then go to all the docs to it. So that,
Yeah.
it's important that that work because it's an easier way for people to access specific information.
You mean from the agenda, the green highlight?
Yeah, you start at the
Yeah, yeah.
calendar,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you go to the agenda,
Yeah.
and then you drive down, so it's click, click,
Yeah,
click.
because you're going into Pan's Labyrinth when you go into that website sometimes.
Oh,
It's-
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not easy.
I will correct that if that's much in the wrong place, yeah.
Yeah. So that, and anyways, there's going to be, I think we're going to have to get into some discussion about that, but
Okay.
anyways, this is how it is. Again, these are mixed use with residential. This is what it could look like. It's very attractive, it's very useful, and depends on where it is. It could, depending upon the land and where it is and what the developer envisions for his property. These are the special situations affecting zoning. So instead of having density for senior residential use, it's going to change to special density standards. We're just crossing out senior housing because we want to get rid of that. But the existing senior housing will just become more valuable. But because we are, and I want people, we are trying to encourage the building of housing that is multi-generational, that works for everyone. For workforce housing, a dwelling unit containing 1 bedroom or studio unit with a separate bedroom shall count as 0.33 dwelling units. And this allowance does not apply to project developed under the Attainable Housing Overlay District, which has its own. And then for that, we're just kind of different crossing outs. We're adding for workforce housing, a dwelling unit containing 2 or more bedrooms shall count 0.5 dwelling units. We're crossing out for the purpose of density calculation, and we're adding this allowance does not apply to the Attainable Housing Overlay District because it has its own. And for senior housing, senior care facilities and nursing homes, we specified that these conditions for that. So this is all in the information.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So you're proposing that like apartments, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedroom studios count as less than a dwelling unit so that you're not changing the language of like a 4-unit thing somewhere? And you can still
Well-
have more units?
So this
It's
is,
for workforce housing.
so
This is where
More
it
like
gets
actual rentals?
it says for workforce, so.
for workforce
Michael,
housing.
Right.
What's our definition of workforce housing?
Let me see how we've defined it these days.
Probably should have put that in here.
Where I'm going is I don't understand why like a unit isn't considered an independent rental and you just up the number of
So-
allowed on a property rather than
Typically,
slicing it into.
workforce housing, so, and this is where we might have one of the things we might need to fix as part of this, clarifying the threshold for something to qualify as workforce housing,
Yeah.
all right?
Which-
Typically, it's set at something that's 80% of the median rentals of the zone. So you're looking at apartments that are being rented below market rate. And in order to encourage people, it's a lot easier to build something that is going to rent for over market rate
Yeah.
than it is to build something that's going to be below market rate. So you have to allow them to build more of them in the
Okay.
space to make it happen.
Okay.
So it's a little confusing when you're not market rate particular unit, market rate, sort of a median market rate for an average unit is what you mean,
Yeah,
a
it's-
median.
It goes in, you go into the
More sense. So
Yeah,
basically,
yeah. I
HUD
think-
calculations. I spent weeks
In
and
the
weeks
continuum
going
of
through
rentals.
different,
lower rentals.
Yep, yep.
Oh,
Now-
yeah, we do refer, right. We do, in the first section, under 1, density 1, the first paragraph, we do refer to the RSA for
Okay.
defining workforce housing.
yeah, so so the RSA that's in the first line there for workforce housing has a really bad definition. That's one of the things Al was going to try to fix this year in
Yeah.
Concord, or one of his buddies. But that uses the 80%, I believe, ownership and 60% for rentals.
I think it's 100% for ownership and
80% for rentals?
80% for rentals, yeah.
Yeah. So they have to be creative.
No, I do. I
confusing.
think I'm following. I
confusing.
just, this is
It
all.
is confusing. And
Like,
this
it's trying to
aspect of it
recreate
is
itself.
is all the wordy stuff.
I can introduce you to a couple of experts on it if you really want. And they don't live that far away.
You can dive into this real deep, girl.
Yeah.
This stuff is kind of the wordy stuff that will probably be going through and will be probably some of the more, frustrating evenings, but. And this again, I'm really about it. This all just explains, if you've looked at your thing, all of the stuff in blue that we're adding is because it's going to be talking about the 2, 3s, and 4 unit residences and some of the specifications that we will be required to put around that. That I think is going to be an interesting conversation. I think some of it might be a little bit too pushy and restrictive, but it does exist for a reason, so we'll have conversations about that.
These are how does it look good?
Yeah, how does it look good? How does it, we have to be able to convince the community that is not even in favor of duplexes, that fourplexes will now be okay, and they're going to be built for quality, and they're going to be built for purchases, individual purchases. They're not going to be cheap housing, and they're not going to be necessarily workforce housing either. These are going to be market rate housing. If you looked at the market rate lately, some of these units could be easily going for in the 6s, 7s.
And this is an area where Peyton will probably have a lot of things to say. This page.
Well, because there's some.
Well, your item number 3 has me flummoxed, frankly.
You can talk to Michael about that.
I mean, every house in my neighborhood, their garage doors face the street.
Same with mine.
Same with mine.
Mine does.
I mean, it's
How do you
just
get in
seems.
if it doesn't face the street?
Well, you would
Return in your
You need to add a lot of extra space because now you can't go straight in. You need to do this.
No, that's not what it's saying. It's saying stagger the front of the garage and the front of the building.
It's saying it has
Not
to be, it
sticking
has
out.
to be recessed so that the garage is not sticking way out front. If, with a single-family house, if you have that, so be it, that's your home. But with duplexes and more in a single-family neighborhood, it's not best practices to have prominent garage fronts. That's not the way we used to build neighborhoods that are walkable.
Well, that's not what the language says.
Yeah, it is.
It says garage doors may not face the street except, it says
Except
garage doors
that
may
they're
not unless they are
Push
recessed.
it in just 4 feet.
So this does not apply to your house, only 2, 3, and 4.
But
in a single family.
There'll be time for this.
Yeah, this is Peyton bait right here.
Yeah.
I know how Sally loves form-based code design.
It's to distract you from something else, watch it.
It keeps going on, yeah. And this is going to be something we're going to have to pick apart. Here we are into the change of the table of dimensions. The single family, let's see, residence A, minimum size, we're bringing down from 20 to 10, and residence B, bringing down to 40 to 20. And OR, which we are suggesting be turned into BR, so right now, office research, we're suggesting become business residential. We're bringing that down from 40,000 to 20 for a minimum lot size. And we're getting, these I think are already gone. Minimum lot area per
You know what we didn't
dwelling
throw in there
unit?
is the 2, 3, and 4 families.
Yeah, we're gonna have to address that. Yep. See, this is why you always come to the planning board.
Now, the
Everybody
interesting
can
thing,
go.
you'll notice that the task force did not reduce the lot size for residency and rural.
No, we didn't.
The reason for that is we left that to be done in conjunction with conservation subdivisions. But you may want to tackle that now
Mm-hmm.
because conservation subdivisions are not going to be done for a little bit.
We should probably look at every column.
We're going to have to, because I think it's a lot when you're going through all of this. And it's not, you got to realize that, like when other committees are creating zoning amendments, they're not the planning board. And that's why everything has to come back here and pass muster through the planning board. Because, the Energy Commission can come up with stuff. Conservation Commission comes up with stuff. The Housing Task Force comes up with ideas. But you have to kind of boil it in the fire here to make sure all the little pieces are fitting in, because it's not, land use is not just a simple, well, why don't we just make this allowed? There's a lot more to it, and
Yeah.
there's
I mean,
always more to it than you think.
So if you look at the minimum lot area per dwelling unit line, can you zoom that?
No, because it's a PowerPoint.
The
No,
ADU
okay.
thing in R and RC kind
Here.
of has already, you could put another building, it's
Yeah,
small,
well,
it's only
what I wanted to
500
point
square
out
feet, But
Is
it's
that
already
that
kind of chopped that number.
the Housing Task Force is recommending that the lot area per dwelling unit for RA be smaller than in any of the commercial districts, which doesn't make sense, which is why we have to go through every column.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through these.
That's a super big drop, but is that because of conservation subdivision?
No, that was. I think
Which one
that
are you
was
looking
to allow a
First column,
Yeah, I mean, the reason,
2,500.
right, I think the task force, right, did look at that minimum
Oh,
lot area
right.
per unit. Nah, they didn't really.
No, it's because we're looking at putting a 4-family house on a 10,000 square foot lot.
Yeah. Because
And we're
you're
saying in order to do
at
that,
10,
you got to do that.
and that's why we went to 5, because we're moving the residence B down to 20.
So that, so you can see the RA and RB numbers correlate perfectly to do that 4-family house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you will want to look at that because the lot size in RA and RB is being cut in half. There's a very reasonable argument you can make for that. But then to accommodate that, the density, if you consider RA and RB, but the density is changing by, eightfold. So you will want to look at that.
Yeah, so we'll be going through this, and this one, oh, wrong way.
And this is why I did not want to try to tack this kind of stuff we're doing earlier today.
Yeah, because it's separate, it's a completely separate thing. And there's a lot of different things, because you're looking at multi-unit, you're looking at possible mixed use, you're looking at fourplexes, there's just, it's a lot of different stuff. This is minimum lot frontage, which were pretty minuscule in my opinion. And anyways, that doesn't pertain to you.
I'll just say, I want to be frank, that when I look at all these, I need help in order to be able to physical reality and to how it will affect actual development in each zone. So I need more sort of visual elucidation, and explanation. Otherwise, I'm just looking at this and I don't really have enough context to feel like I'm making an informed decision and really doing my job. It's I don't have the experience and density requirements to look at this and relate it to physical reality and actually the way a lot would be developed. I need more narrative.
It would be
we'll have to
helpful.
put something together.
Yeah, so it would be helpful if we had identify some lots that are really easy for us to say, I can see exactly where the dimensions are, and that is a 1/4 acre, or that is a 1/2 acre, and if we're saying I'm cutting that in half, then I know what the half of that is, and then you can think about, right, that's the kind of stuff
I just need some
you
scenario driven.
So
Sally's pictures will do that. If you flip to some of those pictures, like, Paul just described, we looked at the 2,500 briefly and said, what's that? It's that, almost, maybe not.
Well, these are multi-unit.
That blue one,
So
that's
that
kind
blue
of
one,
like,
that blue one on the corner
Looks like about 50 by 50. Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and that would be a 2,500 square foot lot, which is what we're saying would be the minimum for RA. But you can
These
see
kind
that
of,
that
like a
is
fourplex, a duplex.
that is set up as a
Triplex.
neighborhood in a center part of town, right? Which people are, the challenge there is people are going to say, that's not small town Durham. But is Durham really a small town?
Thank you.
that's a different day.
Yeah. But if you were looking at Schoolhouse Lane or something like that, that would be the kind of zone where you'd say, hey,
I was thinking the exact same thing in my head. I'm a software person, so immediately I go to, is there some modeling software where you can just throw all these dimensions in and say that here are the lots, like show me what can happen here. I'm sure there is, I don't know of it, but I'm sure that someone has come up with something where you can do some dimensional standards and you can then model it and you can say, okay, this is what could happen in this. Because otherwise it's sort of numbers and things, and I mean, there are only so many levers we're moving here, but.
How are we going to respond to public comments and really understand what the public is saying, and if we don't have this context?
So that was going to be my ask, is does anyone know of modeling software, some system that does this where we're not just kind of pulling things out? But then the other, just the more concrete thing of just like, show me what that actually means in practice, so we could say, okay, that's what in this zone, this area, this is what is going to change from this to this, I think would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, I can prepare visuals with like samples in Durham from here's a house in, in Faculty Road neighborhood on a 1/4 of an acre, and here's an image. Modeling stuff, I'm not sure how to.
Well, you could take even.
I mean, that's another thing.
So what about Silver Street and Dover? What are the size of could you find out what the size of those lots are?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because, I mean, that would, looking at the picture that we had with the blue house on it,
Yeah.
that reminded me of Silver Street.
Yeah, we're unfortunately not going to get those kinds of houses anymore, because not
No,
building them like that
No,
anymore.
but
You might look at a development in Lee, and I wish I could remember the name of the street, so I'm not going to be super helpful, but it's off of, is it Old Town Road or something like that? Out near
yeah.
there is a fairly new housing development in Lee out there. I know, because my husband used to live out there. I remember just driving through that development because it was still under construction.
Oh, is
Those
it like a
lots-
cul-de-sac with duplexes?
Yeah,
we
those
still live
lots are
there.
pretty small.
Yeah.
I don't know how small they are, but like it feels very densely built, and it's right in Lee. And I'm just thinking, if you're using a Dover example, a Lee example might go over
yeah,
in town a little better.
the Sophie Banner development in Dover also has some very dense housing options, but I think if we looked at also available land, we could easily pull up some of the available land and take because that would be your most, rational, thing is a land that isn't any, and try to see what it is and what would fit on it if we were to take all of these suggestions.
Well, most of the land it's not built on now is, 20 acres and larger.
So what's our plan for
That's
this now?
conservation.
So our plan for this is, I was thinking that this would be the obvious next big thing for us to pick up, because it sort of affects, it addresses both housing, potential housing ownership, potential housing rental, as well as bringing people into town who might spend money, right? Because what we don't have right now, Durham doesn't have a destination. What we have are bedrooms. That's what brings people to Durham right now until we come up with a better economic plan.
Although, you do have a destination, it's UNH.
Yeah, but
there is a very big magnet right there.
People don't come here every week but we're talking about a destination that is a destination 12 months out of the year.
Or reason to live here, I think you mean, like.
A reason for an out-of-towner to come here and spend their money.
And, well, we do have,
We don't have that.
But we do. I'm not trying to pick hairs here. $3 billion magnet right there.
and we have,
What's the point you're trying to make, Paul?
Yeah.
Well, my point is, right now, if you build housing, it fills up, you bring people to town. And this is the easiest way for us to bring vitality to town and new blood, is to actually build some housing. And making the housing more affordable to build by reducing the density requirements is the easiest, fastest way for us to try to do that. So I was thinking that this might make sense as the next thing we tackle as our major project.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I agree with Paul that this will have the most significant impact of any of we've got a few projects in the works, conservation subdivision, PUD, we're waiting for UNH. We got the WSOD, waiting to hear back from Conservation Commission. I am going to have to bring you the subdivision regulations within the year. But this will have a real impact, and this is significant, and this is not going to be an easy lift. You're ready for this. I think this is going to be an important next project.
So what we could look at, what I'm going to suggest is that you can go back, look at all the recommendations, look at what got missed, think about what's the best way for us to address it. It might be breaking up into subgroups where each subgroup focuses on a different part, or that might not work. I don't know.
a lot of different parts.
There's several different ways we can do that. So I'd like to talk about what's the best way for us to go about getting this. In the past, we've always gone line by line.
No, it can't be. I think a good way of going about this would be.
I think what we need is someone to crunch some numbers and do some modeling for the table of dimensions to try to make a first pass at that.
And to make sure it's working.
And make sure it's workable. I think some folks who are good with numbers could take that as a first task, and other things could be looked at. I'm open for ideas now. I'll shut up.
Well, I would say to take the different things as chunks. Like, let's just talk about, right, but how about 2, 3s, and 4 units in those residential areas? Let's talk about that. And what would that look like? Where could it be? What would it look like? What would the numbers need to be? And then we can then start moving that into, because we're also suggesting it in office research. And so we take that just subject of duplexes, 2, 3s, and 4s, and talk about that separate unit, until we are sure on that. Then we could move to like, hey, what about changing office research to business residential? And we talk about, so take these different topics and really talk about it until we're clear on it, and then move on to the next topic. But line by line is not going to work on this, because it's all over the place.
Would it almost follow like your presentation organization?
Yeah,
where
kind
you'd
of like.
almost walk through it in
yeah,
that sort of structure?
You could
maybe?
walk through it that kind of structure, because you start at the top, like what's the first suggestion, this, and then just go through it. Because then we're going to have full conversation, because everybody around here has a different perspective, and so we really need to talk about all of these things and how they're going to fit.
And will it be like one package that we come up with? So like, let's say we do this for a few months, whatever, and then there'll be a whole bunch of edits and version dates to the documents that we have. Yeah. And will then we open that for public hearing just once, the entire sort of like,
I think that's what you want to do.
big package?
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of work, and you're going to have a response from the public.
Historically, we'll do all that. We'll put together what we think is a good draft.
Yeah.
Go to public hearing, listen,
Go back.
and then probably edit and go to public hearing again.
We know from our previous work what the concerns of the public are. We've been sensitized, a lot of them. And in all these matters, there are always going to be trade-offs. So I think one thing that we could do is come up with presentation that boils things down in a way that's really coherent for our own consideration. Also be something that we could show the public and describe for the public the reasoning behind it in relation to their concerns. Concerns about building up downtown or close to downtown, for example, might be something that would be used to justify the changes to allow multifamily in Churchill, like we were just referring to. But just to kind of frame everything so that the public argument is more coherent and based on a correct understanding of where we're coming from.
We're going to need to have visual aids.
That's been sometimes missing. It is the ability of where we're coming from. For example, I don't need to go to all the examples, but just recently there was the issue of whether we could address architectural and design standards at the site plan. Well, I don't think people understood that, and so they were importing architectural and design plan issues into what was a zoning amendment where it didn't belong. That kind of thing.
And Gary, you bring up an interesting point. One of the other pieces of this that the Housing Task Force didn't touch at all, but which was redoing our zoning map for the commercial core.
Yeah.
And I can see this might be the time to include this, and maybe we leave so that when we bring the two as a package, and that way it also answers the question of, show us your big picture. Well, here's our big picture. This is how we see the zone down commercial core zones morphing, and then what they're morphing into.
I think that makes a tremendous amount of sense, because otherwise you end up sort of anticipating, we're going to kind of shoehorn a multifamily into Churchill, but it's not really permitted with the density, but we all want to do it because we like a project might be possible, whatever. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Can I just I'm sorry.
Before we move on, are we going to have any opportunity to talk about small tweaks to the compliance required section? I think that should be taken care of now.
What section is that?
That's 175, 109.
Payton's list.
What is it? 175.
the compliance 175, second page, the stuff that go
page
with
two.
the 2s, 3s, and 4s. We'll get into that. Well, I don't think we'll do that
Oh.
now, but we'll get into that. That's going to be.
I just want to say that this is, again, this is state of the art. If you're putting, there's more of a movement around the country to try to reduce the number of areas that are only allowed single family. And there's a number of cities that have done it. New Hampshire's looked at this. This is happening slowly. But if you are going to inject 2, 3, and 4 unit residences into the RA and the RB and the residential zones, it needs to be done with tremendous care. It is a non-starter to say you can now have 4 units. If it's going to be done, you have to have some strong, well thought out design standards. So if someone looks at this and says, gee, that's over, we shouldn't be telling people what to do with their design, fine. Then you don't want to have a 2, 3, or 4 family. You can do a single family, and you can do anything you want.
That's not the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Okay, well, if I was, I apologize if I'm jumping to conclusions, but I'll admit, I'm a little bit defensive about these because they're very important.
What was your question, Julian?
All right. The first compliance required states that all buildings shall be placed parallel or perpendicular to or within a 10-degree angle of the street. But what if you have a large lot where there's a view toward a river or a pond, or you want to face south? And you end up with 45-degree angle away from the road.
How many, in the RA and RB, how many houses do you, not too many people do that. I suppose you could say.
I have done that.
Well, I suppose you could say.
Could I just.
In RA and RB, if it disrupts the streetscape, and people are sensitive to that, maybe you say any house located within 50 feet of the road applies.
I would suggest, Julian, that we're going to be going through this word for word, and this will probably be one topic alone, because there's a lot here, and as you pointed out, there's what ifs, but you know what I mean? So I think your question was, are we going to have time to tweak this? That's going to be part of what we're going to need to do. We're going to go through this, and we're going to need to tweak and discuss every word here and come to agreement on what's here.
In the near future.
When we get to discussing it, yeah. I think this will be one.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
This was just a presentation.
This
by
was
you.
just a presentation, yeah.
But I heard some discussion going on. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
But you're right, there's going to need to be some.
Okay, thank you.
I think Peyton had.
I've already, I don't want to use all my.
No,
Go ahead, Peter.
Site plan review for multiplex. Will there be, won't there be?
That's one of the things.
Is there a line in there somewhere between duplex and?
3 units and up.
3 units and up is site.
We're not allowed to have site review for single family and duplex.
Okay.
Yeah.
But 3 and up.
So
3 and
some
up.
of that could be handled in site review.
Yes. Well,
To some degree.
to some degree, in review, we're allowed to waive certain things too. But
Yeah.
Where I was getting at.
But if it's in site review, these kinds of things, it's hard to implement. And you'll have an applicant up here in front of you and debating, and the board will, it's very hard to impose these things.
If they're
when
not
it
in
should
the
be in
ordinance,
place
then
if they're not in zoning.
They're not somewhere.
Now, if you go through all of this and you disagree, we'll talk about that. But again, these are conditions. If you want to put a 4-unit building in a single-family neighborhood, you need to do these things. Do it right. Or else you can put a single family and nobody will tell you anything.
Just one more sort of process question, and it goes to your comment, and I just was sort of thinking about that. And you said we sort of know what citizens want, we know what feedback we're going to get, and the caveat of that is I think we know what a certain segment of the citizens want, and there might be another group that now are starting to establish a voice, and it's possible that is introduced by economic conditions, and that fundamentally what we're doing here is an economic exercise, if you will. We're adjusting supply and there's demand and things like that. So I'm just wondering, as we do this, is there an economic analysis or is there an economic impact? Or if we were thinking at the core of what we're doing is impacting supply, how do we think about what does this do to the, let's say, economics? Because I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of aesthetic judgments and there are a lot of moral judgments and there are a lot of these other things. But people are going to say, hey, how does this fiscally, And I think that we have a lot of discussions about a lot of things that don't include that. I don't know how to include that calculation in here, but we may want to think about that and at least be prepared to speak to it so that when people are saying, you just changed that somehow, what's that going to do to the economics of the town, since I think we derive most of our tax from, property, and we're changing the calculation on some of the property. So I guess I'm just trying to say, in a very roundabout way, that we might want to, I'm not saying that's a first principle, but at least it should be considered, and we should have some way to think about it and communicate it when that comes up. Because there have been a lot of people that might come and say, discount that completely, and it's quite possible we've been living through that for 10, 20,
So
30, 40 years.
This is exactly where I was getting at.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was getting at, to be able to present in some way our, and I think it's hard because it's hard to have good data. But sometimes we hear people say, oh, that there's not much that Michael might say or Paul might say, someone with a deep, deep knowledge, deeper than mine, of the supply of land available for development in different zones, maybe some rough number there, like this will have a big impact because there's quite a bit of land in this zone where this would have an effect. That's the kind of thing I think that could be brought into this sort of synthesized presentation of where we're coming from, so we have just a better idea of what we're doing and why we're can explain why we're doing it.
At least attempt to provide some
data for the
included in the discussion and then the calculation, because it's quite possible that up until now it might not have been.
And I try to take those things into account as best I can, but it's been tough. I sometimes feel insecure that I don't, have enough data, but we have to make decisions. We have to make judgment calls. We do the best we can, but the more we're able to bring these things into a presentation that will be before the public, the better we'll be able to digest what they're explain our decisions.
Great.
Well, I have a question for the board. We're going to have to do some kinds of with images of how things could change. So, for example, I could bring you images of the Faculty Road neighborhood and, show you these are the lots, these are all the lot sizes, these are the building footprints. This is the kind of infill that could occur. I think we need to do something like that, but I wonder if we do it with a particular neighborhood, if we're going to arouse concern needlessly.
And when you're focusing on an individual's piece of property and using it as an example of what could be, it's a little stepping on toes.
Yeah, I wonder if I should, maybe look at some neighborhood in Dover, for example.
That's why I was bringing up Silver Street.
Yeah.
Because finding neighborhoods in Newmarket or Lee or Durham, Dover, that are representative of what it could become.
There's also a street in Exeter that created very dense housing lots in a pre-existing area, and they just threw. So there are places. Imagine this, you know what I mean? We could take an empty piece of property, but I guess I just really get concerned when using Durham land. That's just like, how dare you use my piece of property?
Yeah, right. So I'll look, and if anyone has ideas, just send me a note. see if there's like
Can't
a
do anything with yours.
single-family neighborhood, and get images of it. Maybe people will visit it, and we can look at different ways you might have infill.
Where you create
that.
infill. Yeah, there are some places in Dover that have some
Just
great
like you can't
offices.
do anything with mine.
Yeah, but I can think you could do a combination of the two. You could say, this is the amount of supply we.
Behind Paul's house.
There's no.
What do you mean? In
Barbie?
his yard?
Well, no, you don't have any, you wouldn't have room.
The guy,
Barbie
the guy,
townhouse.
now the property behind me, yes, because that used to be mine, but an earlier owner sold it to the guy there. So he's got that house could become a townhouse, and it's far enough off the creek. But our problem is that we're so close to the creek, you can't do it. I mean, we are non-conforming.
You're not.
Yeah, so I'll see what examples I can find, and we can look at the half dozen ways that you would build within an existing neighborhood, and then another example, how you might develop on vacant land. But it's, how this would have existing single-family neighborhoods in RA and RB is sensitive, so we've got to illustrate that.
Yeah, what would be we can show what people are doing.
Okay, so we got a plan, we're going to go after this next couple of meetings.
We're
and-
going to go after, yes, we will go after the next couple of meetings. So is there any particular piece that people want to hit first?
Why don't you just do one of the easy ones?
Well, why don't we try to get some graphic, better images of an overview
And-
as a first step?
Yeah, okay, and I can work on, I don't mind taking the heat on this. I can work on a first pass at new zoning boundaries and try to have
Oh, new zoning boundaries.
new zoning boundaries, yeah.
Go for it.
You're the one who can do that.
Sometimes you just need something to
have it
even
make
start
sense.
looking at.
So therefore it's you.
Easy, I'll just, everything starts as CB1 and then you give it back to me, then I start giving it back to you, right? That's how you negotiate.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly what you should do then.
The Greenland model of zoning.
Everything from campus is CB1.
The art of the deal.
Don't say that. Do not say that.
Michael's.
All right, so
Triggered.
EV, do we want to bang that out?
All right, can we move on?
So do people have energy for talking about, so when we left the EV stuff, it was really a question of, so we left it in the middle of a discussion about what should be mandated, what should be encouraged.
And that's our whole
And that was,
thing. That's
and
our whole thing.
and we seemed to be getting kind of, until that was going to be ironed out, it was going to be hard to make any progress on EV.
I was
So-
one of the sticks in the mud, so may I?
Go right ahead.
Okay, I'd like to not be a stick in the mud anymore, but after reviewing the comments to the EV station, I thought one of the commentators about renovations. And I think that the idea of this as it's been presented is, look, when this is not a big financial burden, if you're putting in something new, a new parking area, for example, you can do this by making, putting in the infrastructure and the conduit and so forth for let a new build. But with renovations, I thought there were some concerns expressed. I share those concerns, but I thought in some renovations could be very reasonable in the same way it is for new constructions. A renovation that involves the creation of a new parking lot or the resurfacing, and I don't mean seal coating, of an existing parking lot represents a very similar opportunity to put in. It's analogous to new construction, but a renovation that does not involve doing anything to existing parking, I think it could be too burdensome to ask the owners to put in the EV. That's kind of where I came out when I reviewed that comment.
I guess so I've been involved in a very large redo of a parking lot and in an existing complex. couple hundred spaces. And it was very complex just to begin with, just to rip everything up and put it all down and adjust the parking and do everything. The idea that you would then be mandated to have to come in and now lay a bunch of additional pipe and connect up a bunch of additional electrical circuits that aren't ready to be, that were never designed for that is very complex and costly. And I'm not sure we can even ballpark what that cost would be. I know on our, parking lot, it was like $600,000. My guess would be that would have added, I don't know, 50 or 100 been necessary. And it was already complicated. So I think the redo, the renovation, the fix up, if you will, that seems to me to be very complex and one that I would not want to mandate. And even for me, I reread, and I have a EV and I have a level 2 charger at home that we installed. So I'm a huge proponent of electrical vehicles. But I don't think that we should be in the position of mandating, telling someone that's going to either build new or renovate that they need to adapt to that. I'm not clear or sure that level 2 chargers are going to be the dominant design moving forward. I would say that if, as a town, we wanted to provide land for level 3 chargers, I think level 3 chargers make a lot of sense, like the level 3 chargers that are in the Whole Foods parking lot. Level 3 chargers in like the Hannaford Shopping Center or in the town parking lots make a lot of sense, where a level 3 charger can charge your car in 30 minutes. Level 2 that's going to take 12 hours. So even dispersing level 2s all over the place and having them take 14 hours to charge your car in a shared lot, I would, if the builder wants to do it and there's demand for it, I would say they do it. And there may be demand, there probably is demand, but from my perspective, I would rather nudge than mandate. And I think,
So you think, so in short, you could just, in one sentence, you believe that the requirement could mandate economically, soon to be economically obsolete infrastructure?
Yeah, to me, it's unclear why dispersing a whole bunch of level 2s all over the place really makes sense in a shared environment. For me, whatever, to do it in my own house because I'm the only one using it and I don't mind connecting for 12 hours.
So what if it's an apartment building?
Then if it's an apartment building and the owner feels that there are going to be 5 EV customers there, then they're incented to build some chargers. And if they don't feel there's demand for that for whatever reason, then those EV owners either go to a level 3 charger, which I think would make right downtown, or they charge somewhere else. Or they decide.
I've shared your, I enthusiastically agree with you about level 3 chargers, but that's really not, this is a different, something else before us now.
But maybe it's something we can address faster. Right, because right now, do we allow level 3 chargers anywhere?
Oh, we would allow, oh, sure, but if it was something, a commercial enterprise, probably only on Gasoline Alley at this point, unless it was accessories.
Remember, it was Gasoline Alley where we allowed it, and Peyton and I were both kind of puzzled by that.
Obviously, the place you want it is when you go grocery shopping and you want to refill.
Exactly, because my thought is it would be really, really easy for us to simply add a quick line accessory use to for any purpose for EV charging of any type anywhere in town.
Allowed is better.
And that gives a first, go do it, we don't care where you put it, type attitude for the Hannaford or for Mill Plaza in general or wherever else in town somebody would like to do one, and they don't have to go get special permission. They just go and do it.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Because we could do that one real quick.
Our discussion, as I remember it when we left, was we were debating whether we should require this of anyone at any time. Or should it be market driven?
Yeah.
That was
So require it we should have that. Take a straw poll. If we don't want to require it, then it's moot.
And
And
if
then but then we have to allow it so the market can
Yeah.
actually come in and do it, which we're not allowing now.
Right, so I suppose the question on the table that I'm proposing is, would we rather go that way first?
Oh, just allow it.
Just allow it, and then we can come back and look at the EV, at requiring it at a more peaceful rate.
Okay, so the Energy Committee's recommendation was to require it for renovation, require it for new, and at certain numbers. So I would make a motion that the Energy Committee's proposal of requiring it and mandating it is something we should decide on, because that's a proposal that's in front of us. They said mandate it. So I'd make a motion to require it or for new and renovations. Because that's what they're asking us to do. The Energy Commission's recommending we do that for a whole lot of good reasons.
And that is a point we will need to address.
And I'm just saying it in the form of a motion, like, that's
Yes.
what they're asking us to do. They're saying, hey, we think you guys should require it.
What you're, so to, let me get the, you're basically saying you're going to make a motion that we actually consider and continue work on the ordinance draft that was provided us by the Energy
Yeah,
Committee.
because I'm sensing, looking around, everybody's not
And,
really on board with that at all.
Not with the requirement.
okay, I will second that motion.
Oh, why not?
Not sure we need a motion for it, but I mean, we could just take a roll call.
Rob, why not go around the room
a
to
poll.
every person and have them just say what their perspective is, and you may get a
Yeah.
sense overall.
Yeah, that's the other way to do
Usually
it.
hear from
Yeah.
each
All right,
person.
are you going to withdraw your motion then?
Yes.
All right,
Can I
motion's withdrawn.
suggest that every person
I'll go
give
first.
your sense?
We'll start here.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
This isn't a vote, it's just a,
It's just
Yeah,
everyone's.
so my feeling is that requiring it is improper for us to do. I mean, why aren't we requiring everybody to put solar panels on their roofs? Why aren't we requiring everybody to disconnect from natural gas lines and use electric, So I think that's one step too far. I mean, I don't want to give up my gas stove. Well, that's propane, but, so I think it's intriguing to say, yeah, put them anywhere. The other part of that is that I'm not convinced that the technology is evolving slowly enough that it makes sense to specify what level charger. Getting at Peyton's comment that, if you're putting them in apartment complexes and stuff like that, and it's going to take 12, 14 out of your vehicle, that's just not going to work to mandate. I mean, the management of that and who gets to use it when and for how long, and nobody's going to want to do it. And it's going to be a nightmare that's one of those things that will make a developer say, no, I'm not going to put an apartment complex in Durham because they're going to make me manage this charge station. Let's let the market take care of that. But I do agree, making it, you can put charging stations at the grocery store, at a gas station, at, public parking lots, get one out here at Town Hall. Not that we have enough parking to really do that, but I think that's a much better first step, and see how that's received, rather than having another mandate from the planning board on what developers have to do in Durham to do business here.
You did make me, we are getting a couple of new chargers. I think they're level, I don't remember which level they are, but they're going in over at the Hamel Rec Center on UNH land. But they will be in a public parking lot.
Which restaurant?
Hamel Rec Center?
Oh, Hamel Rec.
Hamel Rec, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a public, so UNH is kind of weird. They can charge for parking, they can't charge for power, but if you put them for the parking space, it works.
All right, Daryl?
What do you think, Daryl?
Oh, I mean,
Got it.
there's no reason
Peyton?
to keep reiterating the same
Likewise,
thing.
I agree. I would say no on the new and no mandate. The market decides. I think we should, wherever the town has property and if we feel it's important, I'd like to see the chargers go on town property, them everywhere. I was just in Montreal a few weeks ago, and up and down the street parking, every other parking meter is a level 2 charger right there. So they're just sticking them on the street parking, just up and down the streets, everywhere. So, yeah, I'm no on.
Charge if you're parked there?
Yeah,
You get for the charging on
Yeah,
top
but you
of the
just pull
parking?
up just on the side street, just like you would, and the chargers are just all over the place. Just plug right in.
It's cool.
And
Terrific.
You pay for the charge.
Yeah, you pay for the charge.
Pay for the
sure.
charge, not free.
But and the final one is the level 3 is, I think, the natural place for them is in front of the Hannaford.
Yeah.
You're going to go shopping in 30 minutes, just charge and you're done, and you're just on your way. So that's my take.
Ditto there. Definitely, we have our first steps to, my concern with mandating is, I think, especially when it comes to renovation, I think if it's a mandated to in renovation, people are they're gonna let things slide. They're not gonna take care of it. They're not gonna repave. They're not gonna do the updating of their lots that they should be doing because going forward is gonna be too high. So I think a mandate will slap us in the face in the end, but let the market do it and make it easier for the market to do it. Maybe consider with new builds and maybe even with renovation, some kind of carrot to encourage it.
Gary?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think on new builds, we should have an incentive that says do it.
And I would say it's premature to spend a lot of time and to make costly requirements. In 2 years, we might have another president, or 3 years, and more environmentally conscious people in Congress and the Senate. Things could change, and there might be a popular change in terms of people giving up their big, expensive gas guzzlers, etc. So it's too early now. I grew up in a time when some people still had electric cars from before the First World War, and used them during the Second World War when there was a gas rationing.
Do you wish you had that?
Emma?
Yeah, I fully agree that mandating is a bad idea on a lot of levels. The only additional point I wanted to make is, I know there were some statistics presented in the package I didn't have a chance to bring my laptop with me, so I don't have them in front of me, but I wonder how recent the data is on projections of EVs, and if it's more than, let's say, a year old. I think the current trajectory of electric vehicle sales is very different from what it was a year ago. I think it'll be very different a year from now, and I think it'll be very different in another 5 or 10 years, which is all to say it's a wildly fluctuating area right now, which makes a mandate unreasonable because the technology is changing, the demand is changing, and you just can't plan for something when it's
Okay.
volatile. Yes, thank you.
Should we have Mr. Barrett prep something then for any EV charger anywhere?
Yeah. So, right, we can just have, that would be a simple
Okay,
amendment.
good.
And we'll put it in the table of uses, probably at a definition, and just P across the board?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll prepare something for you, and it seems clear the sense of the board is to not with anything in the site regs. I will send a note to the members of the Energy Committee. I will thank them for their efforts. Paul, unless you want to, but I'm happy to.
I'll be at their meeting on Tuesday.
Or, oh, okay. So I mean, I can send them an email.
You should send them an
And encourage them to
email.
listen to this I'll send them the
Yeah.
DCAT link and thank them for their efforts. They're great efforts. We appreciate it. But I think the board's been very thoughtful in responding and we have a consensus.
Okay. And they knew we were debating this, that I had informed them about that much. But they did, and it was, kept getting delayed by other things.
And I would just echo that. They put a lot of work into that. Their presentation was thoughtful, everything was laid out, and they raised the awareness. And, so I think their work is turning into action. It's a slightly different action than they're proposing. So while I do want to thank them, because they spent a lot of time and a lot of effort on that. And it's just, I think, a different, but hopefully one that is also positive. So just clear.
And I think it would be, and this is something maybe the town council can discuss. I know right now, money's tight, but you did talk, one of the, some sort of discussion at your level with regards to how putting EV chargers in might affect 79E requests. Might be another way of promoting it and making use, and maybe the town council can make use of the document in some way.
Yeah, well, and actually in the 79E resolution by the council, one of the incentives does include that energy special efforts ability.
So you might be able to use, they might be able to
can
use
use
this
that now.
as the minimum level to qualify for a 79E or something like that.
They can do that.
Michael, certainly copying the town council on your memo back as to what our action has been to allow them everywhere to the town council as well, so that they know what we've done and
Well,
can.
Well, it'll
act.
come to them
It'll-
if you do initiate
Well,
that.
yeah.
Councilor Ford will
they're gonna-
report back
Yeah.
and let them know that we have this now in the works.
They'll know Monday.
So, okay, that gets us to, I guess we're, other business?
Other business?
We already did the December 10 minutes.
We did the minutes already.
So is there any other business?
Yes, if you haven't been to Technology Drive, go out there, drive around and see. It's changed a lot and the building's filling up. They're successful out there.
Great.
That's great to hear.
And keep in mind that the Olson Center will be moved in a couple of years,
Yep.
when it moves to the new NASA building.
Yeah.
Not NASA, Ocean,
Noah.
NOAA building. But,
NASA, OSHA,
yeah.
or NOAA.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that emotion.
okay, all in favor of adjournment? Aye. Any opposed?
Rather than get away.